buy me beer after.
We start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, how are you stuck in on that? Watch my slide back real fast. Don't hit my
We have the, you should have the agenda in front of you. Make sure you have the right agenda. Because there was a change. I was happy.
Third one? This is the second one? Yeah.
That's it. I'll make sure you have it.
I've
Make
got
sure
the
it's
second.
separate. I know we added and in some of the packages had no one because that happened like that. Okay. And reviewing the agenda, does anybody have any recommended changes or comments about the agenda? Under new business.
Bill?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. In light of an article that appeared in one of our publications here in the community this morning, I received it in my driveway, I would simply like to add to the agenda of the discussion, maybe perhaps having a separate meeting sometime in the near future to have a discussion of this matter that has been brought to our attention, of a potential conflict. And,
You mean a special meeting of the board?
yeah, not for discussion tonight, but I think I want to add it to the agenda to have a discussion of whether or not we ought to have a special meeting in the future.
Do you have a second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
What's the article?
That was a letter to the editor in the Courier.
Oh, letter to the editor, you'll almost
I know,
say.
I know, but it also implicates the board.
All right.
Yeah.
Then without objection, we can discuss that in a new business and
But not you
decide
for a
what we want to do on that. Article discussion.
You putting on the new business, Bill?
Yeah, anything else? Under new business, we have on-call engineering services, and I put it there because discussion of a contract, but I'm thinking, Dave, this is your subject, but do you think maybe we should discuss that in closed session by any chance? There might be some comments if someone wants to make. I don't get people.
Question about the board,
Confidence of somebody or something like that? Yeah.
or the rates, or the comparative rates, or
Yeah.
other things and stuff like that.
I'm going to move that
Yeah.
down to the closed session.
Yeah.
And also, we have two of the topics, one on personnel and one on a legal agreement between us and another party, and they'll both be under closed session.
I didn't even see closed session on my
No, I
It's not
didn't.
on there, but
agenda.
I'm adding it, closed session.
Okay, the 3 items for closed
Well,
session.
there's going to be two, one for personnel and one for discussion of the contract of an agreement with another party.
So we're not going to vote on this in the
What is
regular...
this, Marty?
The thing you're talking about, this Dave Stevens motion.
Yeah, we'll vote on it.
Okay, then why would we discuss it after the fact?
We're gonna vote on it in closed session.
A bid?
That's what I asked. If
You just explained why, I think.
No, I haven't heard why.
Well, the reason why is, in case any board director wants to talk about the competency of the individual, the business
Rates.
practices, or things that could be a matter of personal nature.
Okay. When would we be able to move the actual vote back into public arena?
We can certainly
Yeah.
publish what the vote
Okay.
is with no problem.
I just don't like taking votes behind closed doors.
Well, we're going to publish the vote. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
You don't necessarily publish the vote in a closed
Well,
session.
we can. We can vote to publish the result.
We can approve that.
We can approve it and say it's public matter.
What was the third item?
The third item is personnel matter.
I got that.
Personnel, okay, the second one is an agreement between us and another party on legal matters.
Okay, legal matter.
All right. So with those changes, without objection,
Bill,
yes?
just, I'm sorry, I don't, Pete, I've got the article. Why are we going to go in, why is it on the agenda?
I mean, I'm not being, was there a reason we need to discuss it?
Pete asked if we can discuss it, and if any director asks me if they can put something in
Okay.
the...
I mean,
it'd be very
discuss it
brief,
Unless there's an
Bob.
objection, I'm not
Very
gonna...
brief. And it's about
I mean, it's just a letter to the editor, right? If I'm looking at it the same way, I mean, is that?
well, it's also making a sort of an accusation against the board of directors here.
Okay.
All right.
So on the legal matter, what's the spearheading? I'm not familiar with any legal issue.
It's an agreement that is pending between us and Section 16,
Okay.
okay? Make sure that the details are squared away on that. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so without objection, the agenda is approved. We'll now move to public comments. If anybody wants to make a public comment now, they're certainly welcome to. We do this early. For those of you who don't come here very often, we do it early to give you a chance to, if you want to make a public comment and tell us how great we are and then leave after that, you can do that, or, you know, or you can stay till the end and give a public comment after hearing all that we've done during the meeting. So, are there any
We're not
public
done.
comments?
We're not done during the
Are
meeting.
not done during the meeting. Any public comments now? Yes, sir. Randy, identify yourself and
sir.
your address.
Randy Romblad, 6 Surfers Way. I'm here tonight with Lynn Sika. Some of you might know her husband, I think. We have concerns about the aquatics department and the way the pools are being run and the pools look and what's going on in some of the swimming pools. I was in here today and yesterday, and I've read every single minute that's in that book over there the aquatics committee has met. And it was interesting that 2 members that were recently appointed, September,
To what?
to the aquatics committee,
Okay.
have missed half of the meetings. That's just an interesting thing. What I'm here about is problems at the swimming pools, in the aquatics department. I was here last fall, and I think you were away, Bill. A computer system was put in at the swimming pools to monitor and record who's coming into the pools. Those minutes don't tell me who wanted this system. The system goes down periodically. As a matter of fact, it's been down 5 times this year that I'm aware of at the yacht club. At Swim and Racket, the attendant told me there that it goes down more than he cares it to be. What happens when the computer goes down? They can't swipe my card, so they don't know if I'm coming or going. This year, somebody, and again, it's not in the minutes, decided they wanted to institute these. This is a debit card that I can come in the office and buy. Gets me in the pool for however much money I put on here. Normally 5 times for $30. Guess what happens when the computer's down? This doesn't work. That person just walked in the door for free. When I was here last fall, I mentioned that the computer goes down. Nobody's looked at the system to see what to do. There is no backup plan. There is no contingency plan to stop people from getting in for free. Not just at the yacht club where I go, but at Swim and Racket. At the beach, all the pools, the computers go down. We're letting them people in for free. And then you ask us, the members, to subsidize the aquatics department that's losing money through our assessment. What else is going on? This came in the mail, in what they call the money mailer. I assume it went to everybody in a 21811 zip code. What does this do? This lets 2 people in for the price of 1. I pay $300 for a family to be a member. That lets me in, or I've got to go 25 times with my wife to break even at $300. Person with this coupon can go to the swimming pool 25 times for $170. That's fair to us, isn't it? Isn't that fair to the members and the residents of Ocean Pines? To let people from anywhere in 21811 zip code, Berlin, far west is that zip code, come in for half the price of what we're paying? What's going on here?
Randy, that's only good for 1 entry.
No, sir. Go to the pools and ask them if they'll take a Xerox copy. The pool guards will tell you
Xerox
yes.
copy?
Yes, a Xerox copy. We've already asked the attendants at the pools. I can take this in a Xerox copy, go in as many times as I want. I don't know who's, developing these ads or these programs, but somebody isn't doing justice to the people who live in Ocean Pines.
May I look at this while you're talking?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. With these kind of things happening, by the way, at the yacht club, I don't know if Lynn was going to say this, and I don't want to steal her thunder. People are constantly walking in through the bar entrance and don't pay. You can sit there on a Saturday afternoon and watch them come in.
Good morning. I'm sorry. Anybody else want to look at it?
I'm going to stop with one more item that doesn't have to do with this kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a policy in place for handling money. And money bags are being locked in storage rooms at the pools instead of being brought to the police station or put in a safe, in some safe location.
You've seen that?
I haven't seen them lock them in because I'm not there at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock when the yacht club pool opens. I've been told by a pool guard, and I've seen the runner come in the morning at 10 o'clock or 10:30 and pick up the bag and leave. Lynn's turn.
Obviously, we are both very upset, along with many, many, many of the other pool members. I live at 56 Bramblewood, and this is my third summer at the pool. I pay $350 for my personal membership for the year. My husband's funds go all to the golf course and the golf carts and everything with golf. But anyway, what we're upset about, and a lot of the full-time members at the pool, we take great pride in the pool, which is an amenity of Ocean Pines. Needless to say, with everything Randy has said about the outsiders interloping on our pool and not giving a damn about the way it looks, this last weekend, the weekend of 4th of July, was an absolute nightmare. It was embarrassing. I am grateful I had no guests or family members. The pool, to make it a long story short, was lined, the perimeters, with plastic cups, periodically some beer bottles, glass bottles aren't supposed to be in there. People in the pool drinking. It looked like one of those low-class, all-inclusive trips where the college kids are there for 2 weeks, which none of us would want to be a part of. It was really embarrassing. It was very, very upsetting and disturbing. There were tables all around in the back, where the trays of drinks, of course the bartenders are carding people. We know that's happening. But you can't tell me, and this is what Debbie, his wife, and a lot of us have been talking about, there is a real conflict here, and this is an accident waiting to happen, and we're hoping that you, the board, will understand that Randy and I will give up any of our time. You have a pool for adults where the age is 18. The bar is right there at 21. You have no idea how much underage drinking was probably going on at that pool. And I witnessed the shots, going on at tables with young people, shots of drinks, doing shots. The word is spreading. The adult club, the adult pool is the place to go on the weekends because you can get anything you want to drink. You're sitting at the pool. Yeah, whoever's buying the drinks is carding them. It's not the bartender's responsibility. But the pool is 18 and the bar is 21 and liquor is coming in and people are coming in for free. And you guys have a nightmare here. And you have a class action lawsuit that is just waiting to happen. Okay? I'm a retired senior honors English teacher of 28 years and did proms, and I know alcohol, and I know all the things that are happening here. And I witnessed myself and said to one of the guards on Monday, tell me why these people are in the shallow end with alcohol drinking. This is trashy. It's not acceptable. The members don't do this. But you're looking to make money on $7 a person on outside people coming to our pool? What is happening here? And the other thing is, also, in a heartbeat, this other kid that's drinking takes a dive. I'm a lap swimmer, so I'm always in the laps. And you know how there's that division where it goes down from 5 feet to 4.5. Well, the one girlfriend of this guy was telling Randy the next day is climbing up in the lifeguard chair and cutesy and turns to the lifeguard and said, can I jump from here? And she said, oh, no, you have to get down. And then as I left, I'm fuming and I'm trying to keep control. And I said, could you tell me why this gentleman is allowed to be drinking in the shallow end of the pool and playing basketball? We don't do that. And she said, oh, I didn't know you couldn't. There are no adults at this pool. There are no rules posted. There is nothing about alcohol, glass bottles. Randy went up to one of the guards on Saturday or Sunday. We were there all weekend because my husband was very ill or I would have been at the beach. And so I happened to witness all of this. He went up to the guy in the deep end where the beer bottle was sitting on the corner, aligned with all the plastic drinks, and said, oh, you can't have a glass bottle here. Okay? Now, Monday, I'm watching as the glass beer bottles with the plastic cups go right past the guards and to the back tables. And back to the story, I'm sorry I didn't finish because I'm so upset, but this kid dove in the pool where it says no diving, of course all the way around the pool, in 4.5 feet. So when I left, I said to one of the lifeguards, and really they have no jurisdiction because there's no management here. The kids have no rules, nobody has rules, there's nothing posted. It's just whatever. And I said to her, you know, you're very lucky that kid didn't break his neck. I said, because you know what, sweetheart, you would have been the one in trouble for this. And you have alcohol, and you have it mixing, and nobody seems to care. And there's adults at other pools. And last year I complained about this pass. They put this stupid coupon in last year. It's insulting. It is insulting. And they did the same thing again this year. I talked to management last year. They kind of blew me off. Oh, blah, 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 whatever, we need to make money. You know, I will pay double my membership. This is my pool, this is where I'm living, this is my retirement, and I'm proud of this place. But it is going down the tubes, and it is trashy. And those of you that don't go, I don't mean to take your time, but I'm concerned. And I said to my husband, I said, how would you feel, because you are at Ocean Pines all the time, playing golf? I said, how would you feel if you stepped up to the tee box and there was a glass beer bottle sitting there, a couple of plastic empty drinks with some limes at the bottom? Or how would you feel if you got up to the putting green and where the cup is in the flag, there's another plastic cup? I said, how would you feel? He said, it's not acceptable. I said, well, thank you. Okay, so I hope that you will respond to us. I have all the time in the world. I don't have to grade papers anymore, so.
Thank you very much.
I want to finish up with one thing. I said I had a 15-minute conversation with Ginny Reichter on Memorial Day weekend at the pool.
We have talked to her about this, right?
I mentioned to her about the computers, and I mentioned to her about the glass beer bottles in the pool. She said, we'll get a sign up. And that's all it takes, is when you come out of that bar, there's a sign right there. It says, no glass containers in the pool area.
This is so obvious they should know better, but
Well,
so you have talked to Jenny, right?
No.
yeah, but nothing happened. That was Memorial Day.
Okay, Memorial Day.
Yes.
All right.
The management of this pool situation is 100% incompetent. Now, that's a tough word, but that's what's happening because they've been told and they've been talked to.
Thank you.
One last thing. Does anybody on this board of directors care about what we're talking about?
I do.
I want to see your hands. Do you
Well,
care?
that's a silly question.
Yeah, and
That's actually
that's as
rude.
insulting a question as your coupons, by the way. It's a really
Here's
insulting
our
question.
Just saying, that was
We would
rude.
like to have a meeting with you guys. You can bring in the pool management, the general manager, before the end of the month to talk about and work out the problems for this, that we brought up here tonight. And both of us are willing to volunteer to be on that committee. Now, can we get that meeting with you before the end of the month?
We'll consider it.
We'll consider it.
You have my phone number. I'll give it to
I
you.
have your phone number, man.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
What does that mean, they'll consider it?
That means they're going to call us back in a week or 10 days or 2 months.
Okay, any other comments, public comments? All right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think it's appropriate.
You gotta introduce yourself and your address.
Sorry. Tom Terry, 401 Blue Water Court. I think it's appropriate at this point, in being your last meeting and some other members' last meetings that are not running again, to serve again, to just publicly say thank you to your work and your service to this community. You put up with a lot. And as one of my fellow people running for office, Ricky, says, it's a thankless job. But I just wanted to publicly say thanks.
Thank
The
you.
work you guys have done, the direction you're taking us in and have taken us in is positive. Yes, there's still issues to be resolved, as we just heard about, without question. But I just wanted to say thank you very much. And secondly, Pete, thank you for bringing that other issue up for discussion, because I think this kind of thing is just uncalled for.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments now? All right, we'll move ahead to the approval of the minutes. The first one is a regular minutes, June 16th meeting. Are there any changes or comments for that?
I'm sorry, Bill.
Pete, you're supposed to get those, you're supposed to review those when they're out,
I
and you're supposed to let
know.
us know in advance.
And I apologize. However, the only thing I want to point out is, it is my recollection that the closed meeting minute reference to the motion and action taken with respect to the outsourcing was really not in the closed meeting. It was in fact in the open meeting. And I think we would all remember that.
That's true.
Because we voted, as I recall, not to go into closed session to have that discussion, and yet I read it, it was factually accurate. I didn't pay much attention until I was last night looking at, no, actually this morning, quite frankly. It's in the wrong set of minutes.
Yep.
It's accurate, but in the wrong set of minutes. We took this action, there's a member of the press who was attendant at that meeting and who will
Remember.
recall and verify that it
thank
was
you,
an
Pete.
open session.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, how about
I
amending
didn't pick
them?
it up either. Okay.
I read them. I didn't pick it up either.
Yeah. So let's remove that. And then how about
One
the-
for GOMSAC, thank you.
Thank you. And then how about the closed session, June 24th, special and closed? Any other comments about those minutes? So we'll move to, we'll adjust those minutes, and subject to that adjustment, without objection, the minutes are approved. Okay.
Hey, Les, how do I get your originals? Les, how do I get your originals?
I think, I think you don't have to make a difference. All right, the next thing on the agenda is a presentation of a Gold Plan Forestry Award. And I'd like to introduce Barbara Coughlin from the Environmental and Natural Assets Advisory Committee to say a few words and get this going.
We're a quiet little committee. And most of what we accomplish through grants and donations from environmental organizations in the area. We've been fortunate because Dave Blazer, who's the chair of our committee, has a lot of wonderful contacts, and as a result of that, we've been able to get quite a bit of things done. One of the things that we've gotten done recently is that Ocean Pines is being recognized for a Gold Tree Award, and Greg Purnell, who is the town arborist from Ocean City, and he says semi-retired, and sounds like he's wishing he was fully retired at this point. He's representing the Maryland Urban and Community Forestry Association of Annapolis, and the Ocean Pines. Greg?
Good evening.
Good evening, David.
Good evening.
I am Gregory Pennell. I'm the arborist at Ocean City, and he says I am semi-retired. So that's halfway. But I'm very happy this evening to be here and to wear the hat of the Maryland Urban and Community Forest Committee, which works in the Talls Building in the Department of Natural Resources under the auspices of the Maryland Forestry Boards. Maryland is the only state in the nation that actually has a system of forestry boards. And under that, we are a committee of volunteers that are professional, either arborists, horticulturists, or in the green field. We recognize the towns and cities across the state of Maryland for tree planting projects, and we also provide grants for communities, homeowner associations, just schools and different entities of that sort for tree planting projects. This evening, I'm here to recognize what Dave Blazer did with a group of volunteers and planting some trees around the lake area. It was a special project, and he applied to the MUCFC for a grant. We were able to give Dave and his group $1,500 for the planting of those trees. I was able to see what was done, and it was a great project. Certainly here in Ocean Pines, you don't need a lot of more trees, but the different species, a variety of trees, I think is what Dave wanted to do. It is a reforestry project. Well, this evening I'm here as the past chair of the organization and the regional representative to present the Gold Plant Award. Now, not just for this project, but for ongoing planting projects. You have a partnership with the Worcester County Garden Club. Each year you're having Arbor Days, and there are several planting projects that I've noted that you have here in Ocean Pines. So there was an application sent in for the Plant Award, PLANT, an acronym actually saying People Loving and Nurturing Trees. Ocean Pines has received this award previously. Actually, I was on a committee that was seeking to have Ocean Pines to be represented as a Tree City USA. Still working on that. There's a few things that we have to get out of the way, but not to take any more of your time. I'm here to make this presentation.
Come on, Les. You're the liaison to that committee. Come on.
To this committee.
You want to take a picture? And you're on that committee.
Yes.
Come on here. No one wants to see me. They want to see you.
And in speaking with Dave, I'm hoping this is an ongoing situation, not a single time planting, that this committee will continue with this project, and that it will have the support of the board as we reforest this area that was once a beautiful forested area. It still is, but now we need some oaks and some other kind of pines and, the different other types of trees that we can plant. So on behalf of the Maryland Urban and Community Forest Committee, I make this presentation of the Gold Award. There are 4 categories: green, gold, silver, and bronze. And this is the next to the highest award category. I'm hoping that with the ongoing planting and with a little organization that you'll move up to the green, and maybe you'll have me back to make that presentation.
All right.
But on behalf of the Department of Natural Resources, on behalf of the Maryland District Forestry Conservancy Boards, and on behalf of the Maryland Urban and Community Forest Committee, I make this gold presentation to the Ocean Pines Association for your planting project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, page 3 of the other side of the story. Page 3 of the other side of the story.
The next item on the agenda is a presentation on the stormwater management problem that we have in the park and adjacent to the park. And some hard-working members of the park and OPA have worked on a presentation and they're going to give it to us. Mick Hall?
Yes.
Thank you. Hey, Les, do you want your originals back?
If it bothers you.
No, it doesn't bother me at all. It's
It's really eating at you. We all
killing
got
me.
them. It's the way they copy them.
You didn't get them,
Hey,
did you?
Nick, did you guys set up that presentation before your presentation? Or what?
Thank you.
It occurred to you.
I like the sequence.
Yeah, segues.
Listen, I've got 4 others. Is anybody else? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Tom behind you.
Okay.
Roland? We promised Mick that he can talk no more than an hour and 55 minutes, but he's going to try to get it down into less than 15.
I think I can do that, too.
Okay.
And I'll explain a little what you mean by that at the end. Okay. First of all, my name is Mick Hall, and I live at 15 Arcadia Court in the park section of Ocean Pines. And I'm here tonight to tell you about a stormwater management problem that we have that's in the park and also being
caused in part by Macklin Station Center. The area that I'm talking about here is just off of Ocean Parkway as you come in the Ocean Pines South entrance. If you look right behind the Macklin Station Shopping Center, you're going to see a retention pond where they dispose of stormwater. And then right across Tanglewood Court, there is a forest. And it's that forest there between Tanglewood Court and Arcadia Court in the park that is the problem I'm going to be talking about. The problem is that Ocean Pines development has impounded a forested wetland, depriving it of any natural drainage. The stormwater from Macklin Creek, or Macklin Station Center, and the park flows into that forest. The forest floods, causing water to overflow onto adjacent property in the park and utility boxes. And I moved in 2005, and I've seen this as a recurring problem every year. And it's gotten worse this year, so that's why I decided to start looking into it. If you look at the Macklin Station stormwater management arrangement, well, I'm sorry, here I got it. I knew I was going to do that. There we go. Okay, Macklin Station is here. Of course, I'm not showing all of it. But they have a treatment pond in the back that all the stormwater drains into. And then it enters 4 18-inch pipes and goes underneath Tanglewood Court here and discharges into this forest. And I live in this house right about here on Arcadia Court. By the way, I'm not nervous. When you have a distance like this, you just can't hold it still. And here's a shot now of the exit of these pipes that emerge underneath there. These are 18-inch pipes. And this is where the forest is, and that's Tanglewood Court. Now, Macklin Creek, or Macklin Station Shopping Center, is about 5.6 acres of commercial development. And it's essentially an impervious area. There are some, as you know, everybody's eaten there at DeNovo's. It's essentially an impervious area. There are some grass areas in there and so forth. But all of that stormwater dumps into this forest right here between Arcadia Court and Tanglewood Court, as I showed you, through these pipes. And what I did is I just took that equivalent area right there, just rotated it and overlaid it on this forest. This is an equivalent area. And this area right here, as I say, is a flat basin that floods and overflows. These other areas right here are slightly higher, maybe 10 inches, okay? And you also see some flooding along Arcadia Court emerging out of this forest here, and also what has become known as the infamous Soule outfall. And some of you understand what I'm saying there, but that's that. Okay. Now this is impacting 3 areas. These are the homes along Arcadia Court. This residential property is flooding in the back. The forest right here is all flooded for 5 months out of the year, and it's in decline. And you have flooding of a utilities site along Ocean Parkway, principally made up of Mediacom and Choptank. These 3 impacts then, first of all, you have owner and buyer concerns. As you look out my sunroom, this is what you see from November to April. There's water here within 8 feet of my foundation. My property line, which you can barely make out on there, is an orange ribbon, surveyor's ribbon that I put up, is 27 feet back. So about 70% of my backyard is flooded. We have Kathy Hudome here, she lives at the first house. She can't use her backyard to grill during the winter or anything like that because she's got water so close to her property. Not her property, but her foundation in the back. If you go in that forest during those months, you're going to see this is a scene. And quite frankly, it's pretty sad to look at. I emailed back in December the county, telling them about what was going on in there, and gave them multiple shots and so forth. And so many trees are dying in there, and I've got the opinions of 2 experts that in a more fuller briefing I can explain to you. Here you can see the Ocean Parkway swale, and this is overflow now emanating from the forest. And this particular box right here is a chop tank box. That's MediaCom. These 2 are chop tank boxes. They're surrounded by water. The concrete pads under these 2 large boxes here are being eroded. And this box right here has got 1.5 inches, is submerged in 1.5 inches of water. We've contacted Chop Tank, their engineering department guy that was going to write the letter. Has been on vacation for a couple weeks, but he's going to get around to it as soon as he can to give us a letter about that. Buddy and I hired an airplane out of Ocean City Airport, and we decided to take off early in the morning such that the low sun would hit these dead trees and branches. Now this is looking west, so the sun is to your back as you're looking at this view right here. And all of these white trunks in here and branches that you see are dead trees. And here's my home right here, Arcadia, and there's Tango and so forth. If you look at the adjacent areas, outside that area, you see a full canopy. You don't see any white trunks. It's very full. And we went down to the conservation district down in Snow Hill and had them pull up archives of the canopy over a vast number of years. And this was a very densely forested area. This is recent problem. Now, I'm not a hydrologist. I am an engineer, okay, and I'm not a mechanical engineer, I'm an electrical engineer. But there's 3 options that can be considered here, and these aren't all the possibilities. All right, there I go again. One of them here, option number 1, was suggested by Steve Dawson of the Maryland Department of the Environment. And that is to cut a swale from the natural, the Ocean Parkway swale, drainage swale, into the forest here, not to go into the wetland, but to drain the excess water out of this forest. The other option, and we discussed this with Steve Dawson of the Maryland Department of the Environment, was if you look at the existing drainage out of this treatment pond behind De Novos, there's the 4 pipes. There's another drainage area right here, and it takes the water from Ocean Parkway along Tanglewood and brings it down here. It doesn't bring any water from Ocean Parkway, but it just picks up this little bit of deposits here. If you pivot on this point right here, just keep the elevation of that the same, and just merely evacuate the dirt out of here to cause this flow to go the other way. That's what's meant by option number 2. There's a 2B option here, and that is that the county has an existing stormwater management easement that's about 20 feet wide that runs along that fence behind the shopping center. And that could also be utilized to help as a path to get that water out of the pond. The third option, okay, is a combination of options 1 and 2. This pond right here is designed, the design criteria of that pond is for a 2-year, 24-hour rainfall event, which is approximately 3.5 inches. All right, once that happens, okay, and it's full, everything flows out of that and into here. And when that happens,
that water that's flowing out of here that's coming off of that impervious area is untreated stormwater. The purpose of this is to let all of those heavy metals and all these other sediments in there to sink into that. In fact, these things get cleaned out every 2 to 5 years and are taken to what they get out of there are taken to the landfall. Okay, so let's see. I think, but option 3. So if you had a large rainfall, okay, and let's say that this couldn't quite handle it, but it just kept the pond level down, all right, then it could spill over into here, and as this excess water built up in this forest here, then it could bleed off over 48 hours or a couple of days along this path here. So option 3 then is a combination of these two. Now what do we need? There is a forthcoming expansion of Manklin Station Shopping Center. Okay. Now when they, in the plans for that, they're going to install 32 underground storage tanks to help mitigate the excess stormwater that's going to be developed by that. They're also going to enlarge the pond, all right? But the question is this, okay? Last year, if you look in detail at what has happened to the precipitation in this area, there has only been one 2-year, 24-hour event that this has been designed for. In other words, there's only been one day where it occurred at 3.5 inches. The problem gets into is any accumulation of water, any sequence of rainfall over a number of days, whether it be 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, if that pond is not percolating and recovering from the previous rainfall event, it's going to fill. And any additional water that gets dumped in there is going to go right into the forest without being treated. Okay? So I think in detail, you're going to hear that the pond is going to mitigate this, the enlarged pond is going to mitigate it. 32 tanks are going to mitigate it. I'm talking about, there we go again. Let me go back. That's, all right. What I'm talking about is, let's get down to specifics about what it can handle. The second thing here is an agreement on the top level specification to solve the stormwater management problem. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm not talking about getting into the engineering of this. I'm talking about where do we want this to go? And that is, like Steve Dawson says, you're allowed to remove the excess water from that area. And he defines excess water is water that overruns the wetland and goes into what is called the upland. The upland includes the 25-foot boundary around the wetland, as well as any area beyond the buffer, all right? And what we're suffering right now is a dysfunctional buffer because it's totally inundated, and the water is moving onto private property, none of which, like in my case, resides in either the buffer or the wetland, okay? So the top level requirement is let's not flood the property, let's not flood the buffer, let's remove the excess water as the Maryland Department of the Environment is indicating. We need an engineering cost estimate. Number 3, we need a letter of authorization from MDE. Now that was a big breakthrough that Steve gave us because he says a permit is not going to be required. Permits can become expensive. And this has even moved forward because Bill has already called Steve, and Steve has offered to write the authorization himself, if I understand that correctly.
No, he said he's going to go down there and mark the area himself, so,
Oh, okay.
so we can then use that markings for our data for the letter of authorization.
I'm sorry, misunderstood. All right, and the next thing is that we need construction cost estimates with any options, funding sources, and a schedule. The last thing, I just want to let you know that Buddy and I started this back in December, and this is a pretty comprehensive list of agencies and personnel that we've talked to. And I think we've pretty much covered the waterfront, all the way from Cambridge to Snow Hill to the local area. Now, as Bill knows and Les knows, because I briefed them with my briefing book, which is something like 40 pages long, what you've seen today is a synopsis, all right? There's a lot more material behind this. And in addition to that, there's another booklet that I prepared that's 40 pages of precipitation data for this area that will come in handy in assessing when we start talking about the details of this. Now, you know, I don't see Betty here, not Betty, but Judy Boss. She didn't come?
She was busy tonight.
Oh, okay. I'd like to brief her,
I think you need to do that.
give her a detailed briefing like I gave you and Les, okay? Now, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And in addition to that, where are those things here? Here's the historical and 2009 precipitation data booklet that has an awful lot of applicable information in it. Okay. I worked with the Northeast Regional Climate Center at archives all of the NOAA weather for the Northeast. And in addition to that, this is the stormwater management problem book that I used to brief Bill and Les the other day. This is much more complete. This, sure.
All right, let's the board questions, and then if anybody here from the park or anybody else who wants to ask questions, we'll open this to the membership to be able to ask questions then, okay? Pete?
Yeah, you've obviously done an awful lot of work, and I'm curious, and if I missed it earlier, I apologize, but how long has this issue been evident and being worked on?
I moved in Labor Day of '05. Okay, my wife and I moved here. So that was the first season that we started to see it, okay? And
at least 5 years.
Yeah, and we've seen it build and build, and finally, this past December, I told my wife, I said, I gotta go find out what's going on. I went into Salisbury and got some boots and went into the forest.
I applaud you for your efforts. I'm just curious too, this has not previously come to the Ocean Pines then? This is the first time, is there something precipitating it finally coming to Ocean Pines?
No.
Yeah.
This is not the first time it's come to Ocean Pines. It's not.
I'm sorry, I heard two different answers.
What?
Ask the question again.
Okay, go ahead. Is this the first time it's coming to Ocean Pines? And if it is, then what precipitated it coming today?
It's the first year, yes, that it's come, that I've brought it up to Ocean Pond.
What is this, Pete, in your question?
I'm sorry, the problem and we're now addressing this as a board, at a board meeting.
No, it's not. It's not the first time the issue has come to the attention of Ocean Ponds.
Okay.
Well, tell us, Dave, what do you, it came to your attention?
I'm new to the board, so I don't know what happened.
I don't consider myself Ocean Pines, just a little part. No, we sat in this meeting with Kerry Nelson and Tom Olson and discussed this shit. I'm sorry, in this room.
The board did?
Yeah, no, not the board. Tom Olson, Buddy, Mick, myself, Kerry Nelson. Kerry Nelson has been out and walked the property with Mick. I have been out and walked, courtesy of Mick and buying me a pair of boots that let me get through the woods.
Kerry didn't walk it with me, but he's familiar with the area, I think.
He was out there.
The first time it was brought, after Dave was working on it, and I guess Tom, Mick brought it to the attention of the Environmental and Natural Assets Committee. Les called me and said, Bill, this is going on, would you like to know about this? And I said, yeah, I would. So we went to meet with Mick, and then Mick asked if he could make a presentation.
Okay.
Let me say, there is a long history.
It's 5 years old.
No, I'm talking about a long history since Mick and Buddy called it to my attention. Since then I've...
Were you a board member at the time, Dave?
Pardon?
Were you a board member at the time?
Just this year we're talking about, John.
This is the first time it's been before the board.
Before the board as a whole, that's correct. During that period of time, I've talked with Steve Dawson, myself. I was there with... I've talked to Steve Soleil about another aspect of the issue, which turns out not to have gone away. I've talked to Ryan Presock about it. And of course, as I say, I brought Mick and Buddy in to talk to Tom Olson and Kerry Nelson about the issue. Let me say this in a nutshell. The last time that I met with Mick was after the meeting, immediately after the walkthrough that we had with Steve Dawson. Okay, and that was went from one end of it to the other end of it, down to Michael Station and so forth. What I did immediately after that meeting was write a note, which has never been sent, to Tom Olson, which I showed to both Mick and Buddy. They asked me to make a couple of changes to it, but I did. And then asked that I hold this note until they could get a confirmation on this somewhat longer note from Steve Dawson, which they did and they sent. And you'd have to go through it to be able to see the exceptions that Steve Dawson took to it. The bottom line, I think, on this, and what I recommended to Tom, is that what Steve Dawson has allowed us to do is to to allow excess water to flow out of the woodland area. And to allow us to cut a swale and for the purpose of alleviating the problems with the homes and preventing the damaging of the utility boxes. So that's where the swale would be cut. And my last recommendation to Tom was, I suggest that Kerry Nelson follow up with Steve Dawson to verify what has been said, and that this then be scheduled as a public works project. It's a fairly straightforward public works project, assuming that we don't need a permit. Even the permit itself, I thought Steve mentioned $750, but it's, it's not important.
First of all, it's not a permit. A permit
It's an
requires-
exception.
No, it's a
Yeah.
letter of authorization. It costs $750. It's a 6-page form. If Steve Dawson
Okay.
goes out and marks it for us, then we can draw up a little drawing. We can submit
can
it
do that.
ourselves, get it done. Let's do that. Yeah.
Well, you could do that. That's
And
not
the
hard.
work to do that is getting a backhoe in there and a few people and just cutting a path. That's option one.
That's right.
That might give some relief. Option two is a county matter, is it not?
I don't know whether that swale is on OPA property, but certainly I think the pond and the easement is county property.
But it's still not really.
Option one is something which, as I said in this letter, it's a public works. You schedule it as a public works project. However, option two is a whole different story.
Option two is a different story.
And-
Okay, we can't solve it here. I mean,
Yeah.
we yes.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
And not to sound mercenary, but we can't correct every wet lot in Ocean Pines because we'll go broke. We have and I'm very familiar with 1 through 11. I'm not at all familiar with the park documents. I apologize for that because I'm just not.
Yeah.
But we're responsible, meaning the association, for the maintenance of some platted easements in those sections. Are we responsible in the turnover agreements to relieve this type of a problem?
That's a question, and I believe we are, however.
Is there a platted easement there?
We'll have to look, this is not the place to solve the problem.
Those are outlots
Those
which
are-
were
those-
transferred to Ocean Pines, so the property is
Those of
ours.
us who are familiar with this
They'll be
stuff can
our
sit
property.
there.
This is our
Marty,
property?
Yeah.
We can sit there and brainstorm, make sure we have the right answers, the right questions.
Better move
and
quick
we
if
can
you
do
want me
something.
there.
But there
We
is
can still be
there
around.
is just one other question I'd ask either Buddy or Mick. If we do option one, do you believe that that will in any way alleviate the stress on those trees? Excess water is going to flow out easier than it's flowing out now, and it's going to go down Ocean Parkway easier.
We'll certainly see real quick.
Well, I think my point is that the real problem is the water going in from Michaelin Station. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to see that. And if we can't solve that problem, we're going to do very little. We can do it, but we're going to do very little to solve the problem.
Right, and that really is, I believe, more of a county problem than ours. But we now know the problem, we need to analyze it, we need to step out and get some answers, okay?
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Usually every time you fix one problem, it creates another. Where's this water gonna flow, and is it gonna flow into other areas across the street, et
That's an
cetera, et
option,
cetera?
that's an option 2 problem.
No, that-
We
that-
know where option 1 will flow, but we don't, because it's
really a
going there
problem.
It's
now.
not really a problem.
That's not an issue.
It'll go to Macon Creek. That flow has been confirmed that water goes out of there.
But if we do nothing, it's not going to help the trees either.
No.
Right.
Okay.
Either way.
Are there any questions from members on the association? Kathy, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say a simple thing that I thought of. Also, that is a forest in there. There's deer in there, there's snakes in there, and when that floods, those copperheads don't want to be in there, and they come out. Copperheads and black snakes, and they come into our yards. We're lucky we're a 55 and older community there, but most of us have grandchildren. We have friends that visit, and you have snakes in your backyard. I mean, think about that, because it's a very serious problem.
This is an engineering problem that's similar to the River Run problem over at Cross Pinehurst. What were you mentioning about the famous Soleil something? What was that?
Infamous. is the
We,
word.
there were 4 of us from the park. I got it down past my 15 minutes. Okay.
That's because of Dave.
As soon as Buddy and I went in there and walked around back in December and took a lot of pictures, Buddy fortunately is a fisherman, so he had hip waders, so he could go places I couldn't go with my knee-high boots. I fell in one of the ditches in there, by the way.
So did I.
But we set up. I called Steve Soleil, and so I told Steve what was happening, and I said I need 1 hour of his time, and he says, all right, I see what you're telling me. Give me a few days to talk to my designer that I had on that stormwater area, okay? And we'll get out all the drawings, we'll discuss it, and then I'll call you, so when we'll be ready to have your meeting. So he called back, and the 4 of us from Park, including Buddy and myself, went down there into Steve Soleil's office. And as soon as we walked in and went into his conference room, he had all these drawings out, and he says, there's the problem, Mick. He says, that cutout right there on Central Park West, that is the outfall. That is what I intended to drain that area, okay? Now, he says what I think is going on is that area is so flat, and I agree with him after Buddy and I walked, like 10 inches variance in there from the Soleil outfall to Ocean Parkway, and he only had at the time aerial-derived topographical maps. So he said, that's where I think it happened. We're going to have to go in there and survey that area and then propose a solution. But he says, I think that is the problem. And so we have come to know that as the Soleil outfall, okay? And now, Dave, you can tell them what.
Yeah, I talked to Steve about that after talking to Ryan, because what we looked at is, well, look, this could be a maintenance solution. We can go in there and do maintenance on something that was already engineered, and if it's not working as designed. But it wasn't engineered. It's a natural outfall. And by the way, I mean, through my walk, the one thing that's became fairly obvious, it's very flat, as Mick says, except when you start in that part, the outfall part, and you walk west, okay, you're clearly walking downhill because it's getting wetter and wetter and wetter, and now the puddles are, small ponds, So, it's pretty clear that was never really designed or intended to come out through that
solution would
way.
not have worked. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Mr. Reynolds?
Yeah, it's had to be one of the better presentations I've ever seen in any of these meetings, and I've been to every meeting for about 5 years. You guys did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
But my question goes to something a little bit different, and Marty kind of touched on it. Your display up there had a little note on the forested area that said OPA-owned property.
Yeah.
Have we confirmed that we own that forested
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
if the property that's not owned by an individual lot owner and is common area throughout Ocean Pines, it's OPA.
It's part of,
That's not the part true.
no.
Can I finish? Mark?
If it is, I'm gonna go to their pool
All
today.
right.
Is the common area part of the park HOA?
No.
It is.
No, I can answer the question.
Okay.
The question is that during the turnover agreement, there were any number of what we called outlots that were embedded in the park. Those were transferred to the OPA.
Okay, so OPA owns that.
OPA owns that
property.
piece of land.
Okay, but then going to the source of the issue, it looks obvious that the source of the water is the commercial area here
Sure is.
and whatever it's called. That stuff is all approved by the county. What
Yes.
I'm getting at is, I'm wondering how much association member dollars, OPA association member dollars, should be spent on this project.
But we're gonna look into this one.
Okay.
It's sort of, it's just like the Pioneer situation, the county has agreed that it's, some of that's their problem. So we're gonna look into this thing and a point well taken, Joe.
Okay.
Okay?
And one final thing. I was a little disappointed to hear that Dave, as a board member apparently, maybe as president, was dealing with all these issues without informing the board of directors, possibly instructing the general manager to do things that she shouldn't be doing under our bylaws. So I was a little disappointed to hear that. Dave, next time something like this comes up, I think you ought to bring it up to the rest of the board.
Well, maybe, and maybe not.
All right, now,
I was in the information gathering stage, and I'm not going to bring something up to this board until I've satisfied myself that I've learned everything that I can about it.
okay, I'm gonna return to the rules now, and so, you know, only the board members can talk. I have one question, though, for you, Barbara. Are there any openings on the Environmental and Natural Assets Advisory
Yes.
Committee? Because Mick might be a good candidate to recruit that.
We've got enough rainfall data that we will never worry about that.
No, you'd have that forever.
One last thing.
Thank you. All right.
One last thing. Dave, would you tell them about the certificate that Buddy and I gave you?
For tromping through the woods,
No, as you put it, the swamp.
the swamp.
I would get a certificate for helping.
Did you tromp through the woods?
I sure
Oh,
All right,
wow.
all right. The next thing on the agenda is the County Commissioners Report, and I've got it here, and copies have been passed out to people in the
Yes, sir.
I just want to point out a couple things for the record. Mrs. Boggs has pointed out that the demo flush formula that they use every now and then to determine the population of the various areas in the service areas, anyway, indicates that the Ocean Pines population during the 4th of July weekend was about 19,000. That's on the 5th of July, okay? And the average on that 5-day period. She points out that we've got a Coastal Bays report card for the St. Martin River, and most of the marks are C+, D-, D+, except for Sonnepuxet Bay is B and Chickadee Bay is B-. But he points out that a lot of progress has been made in that area. We discussed the fire hydrant project that's ongoing. This is important to a lot of people in Ocean Pines. Yesterday, Mrs. Boggs and I attended the Water and Wastewater Advisory Board meeting where this was briefed with maps and everything of how the project's going. They're about half through of upgrading the fire hydrant pipes from 4-inch pipes, at those areas that need them, up to almost all of them are 8-inch pipes, except some short runs are 6-inch pipes. This is to make sure that the water pressure is strong to the fire hydrants, okay? There have been some people who have been saying that the road paving in conjunction with this is not being done right because of the road paving pass-through money that we did not get from the state and the county. That is absolutely incorrect. The paving is being done out of the overall funding for this project. It has nothing to do with the pass-through funds for road repairs. Okay? Ocean Pines Bridges, she notes that the inspections were done again by the county, and the Ocean Parkway Bridge was rated fair to satisfactory, and the Clubhouse Drive Bridge was rated fair to satisfactory. So the reports we had previous to this, these are contrary to that and do not need to replace the bridges.
So we can call them now the Sule Bridges. We have the Sule outfall, now we have the Sule Bridges.
Well, through. She also points out that when Tom has got on the general manager's report more, we can talk about that more if we have to. Rabies update, there is a rabies problem, and there have been rabies occurrences here in Ocean Pines, and we should be aware of that.
Do we continue to put that on the Channel 70?
Put what on?
The fact that we still have a rabies problem, I'll let the people know.
I'm not sure if it's running today, but it's been on there periodically since last January, I think.
There should be something continuously run.
And the next thing on the agenda is the general manager's report.
Okay, it's a fairly lengthy report, and the one thing I should point out first was I actually talked to the water and wastewater myself about the July 4th activity. My number report a little bit lower than Judy's. 17, roughly about 700 more people this year than last year.
So you're not running for office? That wasn't fair.
No, it wasn't.
I'm just teasing.
Okay, but let me start at the beginning.
You ought to ask Bob how many were here.
Do you have a different set of numbers, Bob?
He says only 2 this year.
All right, membership. Through June 30th, we collected about $845,000 in membership fees. Beach parking, swim, and golf remain behind budget. Tennyson's platform tennis show increases in member purchases. Golf memberships are below budget. We are seeing increases in outside play, and they're offsetting the lower membership sales somewhat. July 4th activity, it was hot, it was rain-free, and that's the good news. We did have about 700 more people here than last year. Our sales activity showed strong results with the Yacht Club. They exceeded their 5-day period from Friday the 2nd to Tuesday the 6th by more than about $7,000. Golf sales exceeded last year by more than $1,300, and Beach Club exceeded their sales for the 4-day period by $7,200. Next item is the community center storage shed. I think the board received a request from a neighbor to the community center about removing a pod that was storing some excess equipment and things over there behind the community center. We've had our Parks and Recreation team remove all the material that was in there, and the pod's been removed, so it'll be good news for the neighbor that had to look at that, and we're sorry that she had to look at it for so long. Water and wastewater utility easements. You'll recall from last month, the Water and Wastewater Authority had asked us to consider an easement to go through the Northgate property to tie in the Shawwell School. The agreement was reviewed by our contract review task force, and I want to thank Ted Roney, Tom Terry, and Jeff Knepper, who are my task force for contract reviews, for extensive review of the document. The president signed it a couple weeks ago, and it's in the hands of the Water and Wastewater Authority, and that project is underway. 10-year plan task force recommendation, and I want to make a clarification here because I think I may have been a little bit misleading what I'm saying here, but for the last couple of months, the 10-year plan task force has been reviewing the options as they relate to the Yacht Club building. Our internal discussions were a recommendation to delay the process for a period of time. I don't think we've ever formally brought that to the board to tell them that. It has informally gone to the board in several different ways, but I did want to point it out in my manager's report today that is the recommendation. When the minutes are finalized for the last meeting, I think they'll reflect that, but I want you all to know that.
But to date, the 10-year task force has made no recommendation regarding the Yacht Club to the board of directors.
Not formally.
Okay, that's what you can chisel into stone. Everything else is a dance.
Okay. But they will be making that clarification quite shortly. Now, what that does to us is, there's not really a problem here. I just want the board to be aware that operationally that creates 2 different situations for us. The first one was, as we developed the budget this year, our plan was to start a rehab of that building after Labor Day of this year. What we intended to do was move our operation over to the Country Club and operate throughout the fall and the holiday season and shut down completely as of January 1st. obviously, if we're not going to be closing down the yacht club, it makes sense to not try and pick up the operation and move it.
When did it become obvious we weren't closing down the yacht club? There was a vote to close the yacht club in September. There's been no vote to reopen it, to my knowledge, unless I was really asleep.
All right, I think that goes in hand with the recommendation of the 10-year plan task force, but.
What recommendation? Remember, we've already decided there have been no recommendations.
There needs to be a
Okay,
formalized.
let's just be clear. Because in Ocean Pines, sometimes you say something and the
There's
next
been
thing you
no-
know, it's
yeah,
fact.
There's been no formal action taken by the board. The budget reflects a different scenario than,
What I'm trying
the
to.
budget is still what we as a board are on
What I'm
record.
trying to point out is there's something different than what we had planned originally, and I'm telling you that plan has.
Has consequences.
It's a heads up.
Tom, when is the 10-year task force going to make a recommendation to the board? You're the chair of that task force,
Well,
right?
we're going to be meeting this
Friday.
Friday.
Friday at 3 o'clock.
Right.
I think that's the,
That didn't answer the question. It tells me when you're meeting. That didn't tell us when the board's going to get a recommendation.
When's the board going to get?
how
a
about this
recommendation?
Friday, we can circulate that after our meeting.
It's going to be a little tough. I'll be in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay.
But we have 2 board members and you all on the committee. We should be able to get a definitive answer, right?
We should.
I think what I hear Tom saying is that the board, the task force will meet on Friday, and on its agenda will be the discussion of that and hopefully resolution of a recommendation to bring forward to the board.
Yeah.
But we can't prejudge what
That's correct.
the task force will.
Can I ask,
We do it all the
just
time,
as a
but you're
sample
right.
question, does the board object to, if that recommendation comes out, to having a special meeting to
I don't
to
object.
hear the
I like meetings,
recommendation?
you know that.
I know, I mean,
I
Marty
bet
likes
we
to-
could probably shove 5 or 6 more in the next 33 days.
If- if-
trying like
And
hell.
Marty, we're trying to get as many as we can for
If we
you.
need to have a special board meeting to address that, we will.
I think
A
it's,
good answer.
well, I mean, I think it needs to be addressed
It's
by
appropriate.
this
It's a
board.
big issue.
This
So
board.
let's get it resolved.
We can do it at 8 o'clock in the morning and
That's fine.
get it done. Okay.
I can make it if Pete can make it.
How about the rest of you guys? My dance card's filling up pretty quick for the summer.
Okay, second part of this.
What about the late October?
That would be perfect. August 15th would be a great day.
Marty, knowing you're Dr. No and you object to all the meetings, that's why I call you first and ask, can I have the special meeting on Monday or can I have it on Tuesday?
Thank
And you
you.
tell me Tuesday, then I got you,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
you know.
All the
But
rest of us have to
Bill,
follow.
seriously, Bill, the answer is, if we need to have a special meeting following to receive that, we should.
We
do
will.
that.
We will.
We should.
I don't know about Marty dance card.
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
We can put you on.
the second half of that discussion is if that does in fact become the recommendation of the 10-year plan task force, then the idea of having some sort of a shutdown of the yacht club gets pushed off to another season and another budget.
If it is
So we have to
recommended
do-
and accepted by the board.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That we would have to
exactly.
then swallow the medicine a second time.
And as we do that, we make sure we have to, let's think about the options that we have, and let's write them down so we can, we'll have to develop the options during the motion meeting.
Also, and
Okay.
I know it doesn't matter to anybody other than me, but perhaps if that motion's coming back to the board, I would like to see, which I now have, it's been like pulling teeth, a in-season, out-of-season breakdown of revenues for the yacht club.
Well, he's got it.
I've got it. I've got it
I know
right
you
here.
got it, and it goes by month, by
It's
month, by
real
month, by
ugly.
year.
It's real ugly.
Yep, yep.
We have a very successful summertime business.
Okay.
60% of the revenue comes in the 5-month period, and 40% comes in the rest of the year.
But the costs, you
Sorry.
make money in
Let's stay
4
on track
months.
here,
You're
guys.
going to lose
We're gonna
money
revisit
after all
that
that.
much,
All right,
you know,
let's stay on track here.
as we go on.
Todd?
Golf driving range storage facility. Last month, we reviewed some bid proposals to award a contract for a golf driving range storage facility. The board actually approved it, but we were not in compliance with our policies for purchasing, and I did put it back out to bid. We did get 3 bids back. The low bid came from a different contractor, Beach Construction, at $15,700. It was substantially under the original project bid. So would probably save in the neighborhood of about $10,000 under our budgeted amount. To memorialize the decision to award the contract, I'm asking the board to consider a motion to rescind the motion passed during our June 16th meeting and approve the award of the project to Beach Construction now.
I hope you agree, because I've already signed the contract.
Really?
Well, I pulled all the...
Phil, are you looking for a motion at this point? Or
All right, let's
the
make...
general manager can't make a motion.
Yeah, let's do that, but does anybody have a problem with the fact I've done a lot of business with this particular company?
I've already recused myself
recused
from
him.
voting.
I don't feel it's any way a conflict of interest. I have no interest in that company. I have no...
I don't either.
But I have done a lot of business with them over the years.
They were the low bid. Do they make good stuff? I mean, I don't know.
Well, do we need to rescind the other motion and approve this one?
We need to rescind the other
All right,
motion.
do we have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to rescind the previous approval made at the last board meeting and
Approve the action taken?
to approve the action already taken.
Yeah. Do we have
Second,
a second? Any discussion?
even though I think we should put this off for a special meeting.
Any discussion?
I do have a point of discussion.
All right.
I think that, and I was part of the discussion on this, and I think it's very instructive what happens here. And I think, Tom, you phrased it quite well when you said we really didn't follow as well as we should have our policies. And so I hope that's a lesson to us that going forward we can do it in a better, more business-like manner.
Haste makes waste. We rush, and we need to step back and make sure we know what we're doing.
Okay,
Does
so I made
somebody
the
want to make
motion.
you know what?
We're in discussion now.
Oh, okay. The motion is to
Somebody second that
accept.
The motion is rescind
Rescind the
the
16
previous one, and then
motion.
to accept this.
Oh my God! See, I can't do both. I can
want
only
two
do
separate
one.
motions?
Yeah, I can only do
All right,
one.
the first one's to rescind the motion.
All right, I'll make the motion to rescind the previous action of the board to
I
approve
see
the
what you're
contract made at the
I
last
think
meeting.
you're a bureaucrat, Marty. Okay.
No,
all
I'm
in-
not.
any
Okay,
more discussion on that? Second. Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now make the motion.
Second motion to approve the entering into the contract with Beach Construction as specified in the general
Second.
manager's report.
Any more discussion on that?
I hope nobody follows my lead, but you know I'm not going to vote for this because I think that the shack is a waste of money, no matter who builds
All
it.
right, then all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
I accuse, huh?
I will abstain as I was not involved with that telephone conversation. Being out of town.
What telephone conversation? I wasn't involved in any
What are you
The
talking
whole of accepting
polling
the
of the-
beach construction contract. John was out of town.
Oh, I see
Nobody
what you're
called
saying.
me.
The general manager, yeah, I got it.
Called me, I said, I
Well,
won't
do we
vote.
get a majority?
We have a 4-3. Let's go.
We're good. Okay, now, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, in a related matter, golf driving range is expected to reopen in mid-August. I think they've got a lot of sod down right now for the range. They're doing a process called sprigging right now, and that's S-P-R-I-G-I-N-G, I think, sprigging. And that's a seeding process that is supposed to be fast acting.
If you haven't seen it, it looks great.
It does look great.
It's very much like
Oh,
Glen
okay.
Riddle's driving range.
So I'll keep you posted on that, and hopefully we'll be scheduling a grand reopening celebration of that in September. All right, continuing ongoing cases, OPA versus YMCA, no trial date's been set. IRS versus OPA, no trial date has been set. Furlough versus OPA, no trial date has been set. Bridge assessment. As reported last month, we received copies of the engineering reports secured by Worcester County assessing the condition of Ocean Parkway and the Yacht Club Drive bridges. In the meantime, interim repairs have been identified. The replacement isn't required at this, immediately, but there are interim repairs that have been identified.
I got to interrupt. Replacement isn't indicated anywhere, not immediately. It isn't indicated anywhere in those reports. Maintenance and management. There's nothing about replacement. The word doesn't appear in the reports.
Okay.
So let's stop talking about replacing bridges.
Okay, immediate work to be done on the two bridges. There's about $15,000 worth of work on the Parkway, Yacht Club Drive about $14,450, and then priority projects, which are defined as within the next 2 years. There's another $61,000 on the Parkway Bridge, $65,000 on the Yard Club Drive Bridge, for a total of $96,000 in the next 2 years in addition to the immediate stuff. About $126,000 worth of expenditures. And the county funding for those repairs would not be eligible for county funding for those repairs. That'd have to come out of our pocket.
Don't lose any sleep. We budgeted $880,000 last year for that.
The bridge replacement money for bridge replacement is in fact at the county and can be used for bridge replacement. It's been reported by one candidate that that money's not available. It is available, but it's not available for maintenance.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Nor should it.
Okay, keep going. Now, there's a lesson learned in this, okay, is that don't believe all the reports that you receive, even though they're maybe from an attorney or from an engineer or whatever. You look at it and say, does this make sense? And if necessary, you get a second opinion, okay?
Everybody on the board that did that with regard to the bridges, raise your hand.
Well, I believe the report.
I didn't believe it. I hired my own engineer to look at it, and he sent a letter in and said that.
Yeah, well, we
Nuts.
did, I think we did get a second report, didn't we?
Yeah, that's after we
After we had the
proceeded
first
to do some
report, of
things we
course.
shouldn't have done. Okay,
I think we've been over that ground enough.
Yeah, we beat it up.
Right.
all right.
But this
We
is my
learned
last
something.
opportunity.
Let's go. Non-ethanol gas.
Non-ethanol gas sales. First thing I want to do is congratulate the board for the vision in creating the non-ethanol, the policy to establish the non-ethanol gas.
Well, it wasn't exactly a vision, it's because I had two motors going on.
Yeah.
The vision of keeping your.
Thank you for your contribution, for your sacrifice.
You can see that, can't you?
Forget the vision, just the wisdom is enough.
Yes. Okay, so let me tell you about this, because, I mean, the good news is, we really did well over the July 4th weekend. The bad news is we did so well, we actually ran out of gas on Sunday of the period. Okay, but in 2009, our sales were about 12,000, our sales in 2010 were 12,775. This last holiday, July 4th holiday season, gallons that we sold. That's 12,775 gallons sold. Last year, for the same period, we sold 8,964. So it was a large increase in the number of gallons sold.
How many gallons do we store?
I think it's somewhere around 15. So we're a little,
We stored 15,000
That's the capacity.
yeah,
for 2 tanks.
yeah. One's 10, and I think one's,
You're not sure, so we,
yeah.
Well, I'll check it. You got it.
That's not exactly how much we got over there.
There are two different questions. How much do we store and how much is the maximum
Yeah.
capacity? Because,
Right.
yeah. Well, we ran out.
We did, we absolutely did run out. Now, what we're talking about.
I'm just glad you're not the pilot of this airplane. That's all I can say.
What we're gonna do next time, well, first of all, the key here is to top it off, but there's a minimum order that you can order, and I think we're too high in the tank before the weekend started, and they didn't deliver on Monday, and that was part of the problem. But we're gonna try and schedule that and time it so that we'll do a better job at managing that inventory. The other option would be to add another tank, which we can do, but I wanna watch and see what happens for the rest of
Measure
the, you know, you don't build a church for the holiday service, you build it for, so I'm gonna watch it for the
Ed
rest.
Ellis won't deliver fuel if you don't buy a whole tanker?
It's getting the non-ethanol gas. There's only a few sources for the
Hard
non-ethanol
to get.
gas. It comes out of Pennsylvania.
I bet you for the right price, we get it.
Not for the right price.
Then it gets added onto the.
Okay?
Okay.
I have one observation on there was some question about the signage. I was over there today with some friends, and there is a banner now that says non-ethanol fuel. It's up on the clubhouse. It's hard to see because it's far away. But interesting enough, out there where the gas pumps are and all, there's a teeny little sign. I think it's blue. Really
Well,
small, Tom.
we were trying to get it so that we had actually, I don't like the sign that's up there yet. I just looked up at it myself.
Oh, good.
I just looked at it. So I want to make it bigger because it's not
Yes,
easy enough
thank
to
you.
see.
That's what is needed.
But the intent.
The voters'
there-
welcome sign is great, by the way.
Yeah. The intent there was to try and get it so you had a higher profile of the traffic
I
coming
understand.
across the
I understand.
thing.
But the sign's up.
Now, last month I told you our first foreclosure was being scheduled. It has now been canceled because we received payment in full, $6,029 on that first foreclosure. And I mentioned last month that during our last meeting, a second foreclosure action was identified, but there were mortgage filing errors that resulted in third-party litigation by the bank that held those mortgages. We're in negotiations with the bank, and it's Deutsche Bank, to collect the outstanding delinquencies, but we haven't refunded or recovered those funds as of yet. The case remains open and active. We now have a total of 28 properties in various stages of foreclosure. Additional 10 properties referred to council on July 19th. To summarize our results to date, we collected about $24,689 on targeted foreclosure accounts. Outstanding receivables on the remaining accounts about $82,000. Now, I'm not quite sure why, but Phyllis put multiple copies of the spreadsheet behind the manager's report, so read one and ignore the...
They're not 5 different reports.
That was for Marty.
Marty wanted the full accounting, so we gave him 5 copies to everybody.
Now, the only other thing that isn't written in my manager's report, I just thought I ought to tell you that the audit's been completed, but we haven't received the final report as of yet, but I expect to have it.
Have you heard from the auditors?
Yeah, we need to schedule a meeting, yes, as we did prior, yes.
All right, any questions about the general manager's report?
Please, since it doesn't look like we come back to these delinquent accounts again. I do have some questions. One of them I think I've answered by myself, believe it or not. How many days do you think the other first foreclosure's now been in the hopper? Anybody want to guess? It's 164 days.
Oh, the first one, the first.
Right, we had 2. The second group, they've been in the hopper now for 110 days. And we've yet to see one posted notice of a foreclosure in a newspaper. Not one. 110 days, 164 for one. And that meant one may have a problem, so I'll give you a break on that one. But the 110 for 20 or 10 scheduled in section or whatever you call group 1, nothing's happened.
Yeah, I didn't track them by the date, but I'll double check that when I do that.
I mean, most of these properties were identified to this board that was sitting last year this time. I don't think you were. I think
I was not.
You were. Everybody else was. We got a memorandum from Tom that identified these properties as, he called them sheriff's sale candidates. It'll be a year ago tomorrow. How can we not have one foreclosure posted in the newspaper in a year?
No, why don't you, I was not here last year. I do have some information.
I have the memo
but
here.
I actually want to respond to that. Because I saw that list and it's not the same list.
Yeah, well, more importantly, I think the motion to get this thing moving.
A lot of the same houses run it.
Was back in January or February. It wasn't a year ago.
Right.
You want to pick any one of these? I can tell you. The number 1 on the list, by the way, is the one that paid. The number 2 on this list is the one that's been 164 days.
Marty, no, I was not on the board last year.
I know that.
I've seen that list, and the sheriff's sale candidates put forward by the general manager. Subsequent thereto, however, the board put in place a review mechanism and a procedure to follow for all delinquent accounts, including foreclosure proceedings. It is that approved motion that we have been executing as a board and management. And I, as treasurer, am part of that group, and there was a schedule for when the group would meet and when it would issue its report, and that's being followed.
Maybe you can tell me then, how can we have 10 properties that we're focusing on for foreclosure, 110 days since notice, and we haven't had one posted notice of foreclosure in the paper, which starts to find, I mean, that's your final chapter before the hammer can fall. So that means 110 plus at least 3 weeks.
The time that has to expire is at least 90 days.
Right. There are
So-
Well, out of 10, we couldn't hit the target
Okay, you're
once.
talking about 20 days. And
Okay.
There are 2 45-day waiting.
I know.
We've been over this
And
many
I know it
times.
backward and forward. I'm telling you that in that same time frame, the condominium I used to serve on the board is closed too.
various properties have been posted under the law.
I know what the law is, I know backward and
fine.
forward. This is ridiculous. This is telling me we don't really want to do it. Last question, and I'm not going to mention the member's name because I've already heard about who struck John about if we're going to say one, we say them all. You know what member I'm talking about. That member bankrupted us less than a year ago.
Declared bankruptcy.
He
Declared bankruptcy, which cut us out
leaving
of
us
10,000 in the
Right.
hole.
Right.
Okay? Let's not be picky-only. He now owes us, as of today, another $3,400. He's nowhere on any bankruptcy, or on any foreclosure list. What are we gonna do? Save him for next year so I can come into your meeting and public comments a year from today and waggle my ears at you? When are you gonna go after him?
Remember what you're looking at here is a list and a plan and a strategy on how we're going to approach our delinquencies.
Okay, I think that you go around the plan when a guy has broken off inside of you. When the guy bankrupts, it is time to look at him a little closer than some of these other people.
Marty, I can't argue your logic, because I kind of agree with it, but...
Okay, I'm not going to mention the guy's name. When are we going to put him in the hopper?
If his mortgage is, say, $400,000...
And it is. He has two waterfront properties.
He doesn't pay up.
Two waterfront properties.
I know.
I'll buy him at auction.
Could be.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I think what Marty is suggesting in this particular case, and I don't know the gentleman, but Marty, we would have to make an exception to the policy in place.
No, we don't. If somebody's 90 days late.
Let him finish, Mike.
Let me finish, please. We are not making an exception, and management is in charge of it, but the principle here is this gentleman filed for bankruptcy. Whether you like it or not, the bankruptcy laws protect that individual.
Not arguing about it.
Fine.
They don't protect after he's been declared.
All right. What he is referring to, and Marty is referring to, is the fact that that old debt that's been around for a while, the slate's been wiped clean for that gentleman under the bankruptcy. Now, he also has still a resident now and has a current year assessment.
Two.
That was not subject to the prior bankruptcy proceeding. So we're treating him like every other delinquent member under the rules that have been established and the procedure set forth by this board. So that policy is in place and being executed. We're not flagging him for special treatment because he went bankrupt before and stiffed us for 10 grand.
I got bad news for you.
Why?
But you're
Dave,
not
if you
ever
want to
going
put
to
a
be
motion
my
forward
accountant.
next month for that particular individual, single him out, make it an exception to the policy, any board member can do that.
No, I think we can always change
I would
the
like to
policy.
move.
We created it.
I would like to move in open session. Can I make a motion? I'll make a motion that we direct the general manager to foreclose on this guy. Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Of course not. You know, you guys are all big business. You really know how to handle money. Good God.
Oh, I'll second it for discussion.
All right, discussion, please.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we?
This motion is for a particular individual to be carved out and treated differently than all other individuals.
No. You can treat, I tell you what, I'll
I'll
redo the motion. We'll get everybody that's beat us at $8 grand this year and owes us $3 grand already.
I think there's a specific set of circumstances which can be generalized, which would be an addition to the policy. I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, we can't foresee every particular, I mean, if we're smart, we could, but we're not that smart.
Clearly.
We can't foresee every particular thing that's going to happen. So has this guy, this person, or persons like him, ever paid us a dime? I mean, have they, I mean...
Well, he's lived there a
since
long,
he's
long
been-
time.
Yeah, but...
Actually, we know he had to have at one point.
Since he was $10,000 in the hole, or thereabouts, and now he's another, how much, $4,000 in the hole? I mean, all during that period of time, we have collected no money. So he went bankrupt, the $10,000, we forget that, Ocean Pines.
And there he is now.
And now we're saying that we can't, and our policy says we have to treat him like everybody else, and that in this particular case, it's not him or her, it's this, in this circumstance, why should we not have an exception to our policy?
Because I think you need to...
Once you start.
Yeah, If you're asking, I'd just tell you my recommendation was you create a policy to do collections, you follow it. You don't make it punitive, you don't make it targeted, you do it in a...
Oh, listen, I am
Your
as-
policy from the beginning was not to foreclose on
I am as
anybody.
against punitive as anybody. I'm against putting the
Is this
the
really
names in the
being punitive?
papers. It is
It's not being punitive at all. The guy is beating us like a redheaded stepchild.
If you put this in perspective, you got 10 years where this individual has not paid us our
Hasn't been
association.
10.
Oh, no, John, where'd you get that?
Well, I took the $10,000
listen, hey,
Penalties and all that, it might be a couple years.
We're getting into an area where I think we ought to, if we ought to discuss it a little further in closed session before we single out this person.
Call my motion, please.
And I'd be more than happy to do that later on.
I'll withdraw the
This could be-
second pending,
This could be
I don't
vindictive.
want this
Could be
thing
vindictive.
to drop.
Vindictive about
No,
it.
there isn't.
Bill, did you hear, he withdrew his second?
Yeah, I'll withdraw the second.
Which makes Pete very happy because he can't stand collecting money from people. Let's go.
All right.
Well, I think this is an issue.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that-
that's an unfair comment, and I'm working
Yeah.
very hard with management to do the best I can.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, working very hard.
But let me ask you, Pete, how do we
Last
get?
month, we lost
All right,
almost
hey,
as much
Marty,
to bankruptcy
how do
as
we-
we got collected.
How do we get to address a situation like this? I think the policy is unsatisfactory.
I think the policy is good, but there are exceptions. to
But there are
policy, Dave. But if we're going to
exceptions.
single out a person, we ought to know why.
Not-
We can't say why in
Not
session.
a person. We can't single out a person.
That's
I
what we're
don't
trying to
agree
do
with
here.
this.
That's what we're
No,
trying to
I
do.
think we're trying to identify a set of
Maybe you
circumstances.
don't understand all the conditions of this
The
particular.
policy isn't working when we collect
All right. I'm gonna move
24,000
on.
and lose 10, not to him,
The
to
motion
other
is second, I'm
bankruptcies.
going to move on for this topic.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, let's go.
You guys have
The next
done it
topic
ignored.
is old business, and it's the second reading of amenities policy B-08. You all got a copy of it here. I'd like to talk about this thing for a minute before we do this. This is something that I thought we needed since before I was a member of the board, okay? And to establish a general policy for the amenities of Ocean Pines. We defined what an amenity is, which wasn't always defined. We established overall amenity goals and objectives. We classified in paragraph 5, we classified and identified the use of amenities. Now, this thing here, Marty, you had a comment about the yacht club is not mentioned. In
Beach club is, yacht club's not.
the beach club is, food and beverage, it is, I think at the yacht club, the food and beverage facilities are mentioned, the beach club is mentioned, because it's more than that. The yacht club is more than that too. I think the yacht club should be mentioned, and I'm gonna write it in under general use amenities.
Which one are we looking at now?
We're looking at,
Which draft date?
6/16/2010, Marty.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a general use amenity because there's no fees involved with the use of the yacht club. And we can add the yacht club in because the beach club's there. and the country
There is
club's there.
fees. If a member wants to rent it or hold a catered
Yes,
fair
but
there.
then we can put it in both places if you like. It's really irrelevant, but, I have food and beverage facilities are not fee-based. They can be rented, but they're not fee-based.
Well, it's covered in D anyway, amenities rentals. If
I
you go down
think
a
it is
page.
too. I think it is too. I think it's
Yeah, I
covered
think it's
adequately.
covered.
But it needs to be- it needs to
Marty
be
had a
listed.
complaint about that. I wanted to make sure I addressed it. You want the yacht club listed, Marty?
Yeah,
Okay, let's list it.
certainly an amenity.
Get that?
Well, what's the difference between that and a food and beverage?
Now, going
facility?
down,
Whoa,
Why do you have food and beverage here and then country club and beach club following it?
Is this
Where am I at?
what I have in my hand
yeah,
here?
I
I
see
think
what
you
you're
just
saying.
referred to it.
Yeah, I got it.
This
I
is what
understand.
we're
I
addressing,
got it.
correct?
Yeah. You're right.
So changes have to be
Yeah.
more than just one person wanting to make a change, is that correct?
right, but if anybody feels strongly about a change and there's no objection, we can put it in. We can vote it in.
Well, I don't think we need it,
Okay.
that change.
All right,
Well, there's a surprise.
Marty, come on. Come on.
Well, then vote it 6 to
All right.
1.
No, wouldn't be 6-1. I see what Marty's point is. You got community center, country club, beach club,
No, I'll be the one.
food and beverage facility. That doesn't, I'm sorry.
the food and beverage
What doesn't
facility,
belong
though-
in that group? I
Well,
mean,
the yacht club could be used for other things besides food and beverage facilities.
And the country club isn't?
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying, so I agree with Marty.
We agree, yacht club.
Put it in, I agree.
I agree.
Okay, you don't agree, Pete?
How about others? Others want to put it in
Anybody
there?
else care?
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
I agree, it should be in.
Fine, fine.
Everybody agree? Okay.
The principal, Bill, I was saying, you just can't ask one person and say, okay, we'll make the change. That's
I
all.
listened to objections.
That's fine.
Okay, now,
Yeah,
moving
we'll
on
object to
down,
Marty anytime.
the next paragraph in there is called fee-based amenities. And we identify the pools, beach parking, golf course, tennis facility at Manklin Meadows, because the other one's free, paddleball courts, marinas. We added in there a paragraph after that has no paragraph letter identification. I'm gonna skip that for now, I'm gonna go back to that, okay? But I want to.
I have a question. Where did that come from? Did all the directors agree to that, or did one director provide that?
It was.
It was provided by one director, wasn't it?
And without
Thank you.
objection.
Just want to be sure I'm
Okay.
clear.
Well, wait a
on
minute, Marty,
thinking.
we saw this and went over it last month. So yes, one director wrote it, well, it wasn't me, but we all agreed to it, and that's why there's highlights.
we
in it.
did all agree to
We
it.
didn't all agree to it. The
Oh, we
majority.
may not have all agreed,
Right,
but
the majority agreed to it.
Yeah, and we put it in there so we can look at it during the second reading, is why we put it in there.
Bob's point is that the
Think about
majority agreed to make that change.
Correct.
Well, it
Thank
wasn't a
you.
change, it was an addition, and it's under discussion. Okay, now,
Okay.
moving on. I have nothing else to say about paragraph 5. Paragraph 6, we talked about capital costs and operating costs, but the paragraphs 7, 8, and 9, in my opinion, are three of the most significant things we're adding to how we do things in Ocean Pines that are different, okay? Pricing and fees. Right now, we receive in our budget books after Christmas a book this thick. And in that book are the recommended fees. It said that the directors set the fees. We approve the fees, but we don't discuss the fees. I don't recall us discussing any fees for any amenities except for golf.
Right, golf is the one.
Okay, so what we've got in here, we've agreed to this, I want to discuss it. We've agreed that in October, the general manager will have on the agenda a presentation on the fee structure for the following fiscal year, which means that the board has to ask the committees that are associated with those facilities to review that the month before. You have to, so it's been staffed, it's brought to the board, and we discuss those. That's something new, folks. And who's ever going to be on the board next time needs to schedule that for that meeting. Yes, Marty?
I have a is this resolution B08 now replacing MO2?
No.
Oh, no.
Well, MO2, doesn't that address the fee policy and amenity use?
What is MO2?
Amenity use and fee policy. We got so many resolutions and policies now, we don't know which one's which.
All right. I think that's a good point. We have to make sure they're compatible, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Either that or dump this
The
one.
next thing is paragraph 8, marketing. Tom Terry's gone, hasn't he? But he's been working on our marketing plan for all the amenities and stuff. And we talk about the marketing plan. Do we really have a scheduled time where we address the marketing plan? No, but this has a marketing plan scheduled meeting, as a major topic of that meeting would be the annual amenity marketing plan. Okay? And in paragraph 9, we've enhanced, we've got a program for customer service. In paragraph 9, we're going to address how we stand and what we're doing to reinforce and support our customer service program in December's meeting. Is that November's meeting? December. So those are 3 new things that establish annual reviews for those things, and it causes the general manager to review those plans and present them to us during those months. Those are the key things, I think, in this resolution. Okay? Are there any other discussion anybody else wants to make about anything in this resolution?
Other than the one you said you were going to get back to?
I will. Okay. I'll discuss it.
Where are we going now? Where are we going?
We're going to the unlettered paragraph after 5B in classification and use of amenities. Okay? We put in there the wording, it is recognized that fee-based amenities are not businesses, but rather facilities which are operated for the benefit of the association. It is recognized that operating all of our association's amenities in an efficient and cost-effective manner is important. Therefore, to the extent possible, fee-based amenities should, at a minimum, seek to cover operating costs with membership and other fees and sales revenues. I agree with almost everything in that, but I think it needs to be pulled out and put under overall amenity goals and objectives.
Item
Okay.
4.
Secondly, I have a recommended rewording of that for consideration. Okay? And
No, it's the same thing. Oh,
it's the same thing.
I already
No,
printed it
you brought
out.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've changed a couple of words after talking to some directors, but what I think it ought to read as, the amenity goals and objectives. The purpose of our amenities is to provide facilities and services that benefit a wide range of our membership and improve and enhance their quality of life. To achieve this, our amenities should be maintained in a first-class condition, be marketed and operated effectively and efficiently, and provide a high degree of enjoyment and satisfaction to those residents and guests who choose to use them. All of our amenities shall be operated in a business-like manner. Fee-based amenities and those providing food and beverage products and services shall be budgeted separately, which, by the way, they are. These amenities should have a goal and be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues. That's my recommended change to what we put in last month for consideration.
So the paragraph that starts at "it is recognized" and ends at "fees and sales revenues" comes out
Would come
of
out.
B. Is that correct?
That's correct. It would come out of there, and the wording in red in this thing would be moved up in paragraph 4, which I think it more appropriately belongs.
Well, moved, but also significantly modified.
Yes.
To strike any such reference to them not being businesses, but rather amenities.
Yes.
And the rationale for that?
Well, I think to say that an amenity is a business means certain things to certain people. And I think to say that an amenity is not a business means certain things to certain people. I believe some people could read by us making that negative statement that they're not businesses, would read by, we can accept the fact we aren't doing well because all these are amenities and they aren't businesses. That's not the intention. That's not what we mean to say. We mean to say we want to run them effectively, efficiently, and in a business-like manner, which means an orderly, proper, functioning manner. Okay? But to say that they're not businesses is a negative statement. I think it's opening the door to bring ridicule upon ourselves.
Well-deserved ridicule.
Okay? I'm gonna open the floor in a minute, okay? But that's what I think. I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by making a statement like that. I think it means nothing.
Man, also,
Yes.
I don't know how you have 9AB following a "we're not businesses."
Excuse me?
9A and B, you're talking about your customer
What
service,
is
customer
9A and B?
relations. Well, at the very back on page 3.
Okay.
How can you have customers if you don't have a business?
I don't know.
And then, let me ask you,
Patrons. How
when
about
we're talking
patrons
about
outside?
amenities, we're also talking about...
Users, yeah.
Well, I'm assuming, which is a huge mistake in this group, that marinas at the yacht club include gas sales. Would they or would they not? Is that a business? If it's not a business...
That's what I'm talking about. By saying it's a business, to you, a business means something. I went into Wikipedia and I read all this stuff about business, and I said, I just, do I think some of these things are business-like things?
Of course they are.
They're
I think they
business-like,
are.
for sure.
If you're selling hot dogs and you're just a facility amenity, let's give them away and get rid of the cash.
You've heard my rationale, I've heard yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion, it seems to me, about business is all related to a single thing, and that is whether or not there's an expectation of there being a profit. And for many people, if you don't have a profit, you ought to shut it down, because why should you be in business and not make a profit? So we struck last month the language that referred to, consequently, is not a requirement that they operate at a profit. We struck that, and the majority were in favor of that, and I accept that. But we left in there the language that is now being stricken and is being discussed at the moment, right? I don't know why, certainly I'm not reluctant to state the fact that these are not businesses, but they're rather amenities. Because you're right, they can mean different things to different people, but what I don't want to convey is the fact that because we're not saying anything about whether or not it is a business or not, it suggests to some people, members, that we absolutely have a requirement that we have a profit. Now, you somewhat took care of that by your previous language by saying, in two different places, and it was your language, Bill, I believe, to the extent possible. And if I'm not mistaken, because you and I talk about that, that was a way for you to suggest that it's not a requirement that we have a profit, and therefore striking the language that it's not necessary to have a profit, necessarily. I mean, we have a profit, we all can rejoice and be happy and so forth and so on, but is it an absolute requirement? So your use of the language to the extent possible, I think, helped me accept the language here. Now we're suggesting that we strike that also.
Excuse me a minute. That I think is because the actual language about a profit has also been taken out. It merely says we shall operate in a business-like manner.
Read the last sentence, last comment of that paragraph.
The new one?
Yeah, the new one.
These amenities should have a goal and be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues.
That's a flat statement.
And does that, yeah, it's a flat statement.
Okay, well, let me tell you why.
And there's no, I mean, well, they can have a goal, and the goal should be to manage to operating costs, but you said they should have a goal, something, whatever it is, and be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues. That's a flat statement that says you got to break even.
No, it says
I think it is
should
too.
be a goal. But you know what? Let me tell you, Dave, let me tell you why I took out the word.
But it says should have a goal.
Should have a goal. We're trying. Let me take Dave.
But it doesn't say that the second part of the sentence doesn't say that's the goal. Go
May I
ahead.
respond to you? I wrote the words to the extent possible. I staffed this with 3 different people. I got some feedback, and one of them said, Bill, you should take that out because these amenities should have a goal means the same thing as to the extent possible. I said, fine. I can compromise what I think should be in there. I can live with something less than exactly what I want.
Well,
okay?
if you
but
took
I'll put
out,
that back in.
No. I got a better thing. I can do it easier.
Okay.
If you look at that sentence, you take that and you substitute that and with the word to.
Where's that?
And I'm talking about the last sentence in what you just wrote.
Please tell me what you mean by take out.
The last sentence being these amenities should have a goal and to be managed?
That's what it says.
Yeah, right. Okay.
These amenities should have a goal to be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales.
I can live with that.
Okay.
So now the goal is connected to the first part of the sentence is connected to the second part of the sentence.
I can live with that.
I don't understand the reluctance of this board to the word profit. To me, it just, would any director who would be upset if the golf course made a profit next year, raise your hand?
Marty, I wish they'd make a profit.
Yeah, of course we do. I mean, why is profit such a bad word?
Profit's not a bad word. Yeah.
If you
Manage to get profit.
mandate it, there are consequences to not meeting the mandate. in
That's
minds
the
of
way it
some.
is outside in the real world. Yes,
Right,
sir,
so you
Bob.
shut the business down if it doesn't make a profit.
All right.
Right?
John, what do you think? Any
make it
input on this?
You know, we've been arguing this for I don't know how long, you know. I understand where Marty's coming from. If you got a goal, okay, the goal should be a stretch goal. And a stretch goal is making a profit. It goes without saying, in my mind, that we ought to be working, if we're doing this in a business-like manner, which effectively, you know, that we should be covering operating costs through, you know, period. I mean, that should not be a goal, that should be a given.
It is, it should be, but you know, it doesn't happen, so what are you going to do?
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that should be the given. The goal, these amenities should have a goal to be managed to put in profit, to operate, you know, to establish a profit. I don't, either way.
Not necessarily.
No, not
necessarily. Well, I understand that.
Words
Could be.
based on the thing.
And there's no part of the word amenity that requires a profit.
We are a
Understood.
not-for-profit organization, are we not?
Yeah, that doesn't
Well,
matter.
Now, let me
We
just-
make some profits
Bill,
on
you go
something.
hard pressed,
listen,
Bill.
Breaking that rule.
In response to John's comment about profit, we could make the yacht club profitable by just shutting it down during the winter. But prior boards,
An epiphany.
All the people that don't go there like that.
Yes, I know. They're very happy for somebody else not to have
That's
it.
that's a majority, that's
All right, go ahead, Pete. Pete's got the floor. Let's,
Prior boards and prior managements have made a decision that in the best interest of the community, let's keep it open during the winter months to provide that amenity for the people who are here during the winter. And as a consequence, they incur losses during that period of time. But the collective judgment has been, that's a good thing for the community. If you accept the fact that it absolutely has to be a profit, then you don't have that opportunity necessarily. I have also heard the majority of directors around this table say at various times, including myself, you know, the ultimate measure of success is not necessarily whether you make a profit or not. Bill, you know, you've heard that, you've said it, you've heard me say it, and I believe that doesn't mean forever. That means in particular circumstances, it's okay, because if we start to expand our business and we're doing things and making investments and attracting new business that are good for the long term, is it okay to incur a loss for maybe a year or so? The answer, in my opinion, is yes. The ultimate measure of success for a particular amenity at any given point in time is not whether, like in business, it has a profit for that year.
okay.
And to the extent possible, helped me in that. And that's
Well,
all
some
I'm
people
saying.
might jump up and down and say, hey, you know, yeah, close the yacht club, you know, nobody goes there. Let's do the same for the swimming pools. That would obviate one argument that we've
Or Parks
heard
and Recs.
earlier.
We don't make
Other golf courses,
I think
that
Parks
you
and
just
Rec
think of.
is a red herring. Now, that's not.
Okay.
You're right.
I kind of agree with that.
I'd like to get this thing finished if we can.
Just the input of striking to the extent possible was something Bill and I spoke about earlier today. I didn't like the term, I know you do, Pete, you and I have talked about it. To the extent possible, opens it up to say, yeah, you know, one way or the other. Remove to the extent possible. We're trying to make these break even at a minimum.
Yeah, but it doesn't say trying.
I
It
understand that.
says shall.
But shall,
exactly.
understood.
Shall and trying are two
No, it
different
doesn't say
things.
shall.
Yes,
says
it does.
Should.
Well, remember,
Shall be operated.
shall be
Should be
operated.
operated in a business-like manner.
My whole point is, to the extent possible wasn't necessary in the sentence, okay, on either of those sentences. And to your point of changing the and to on the last sentence, I don't know if that's correct either. These amenities should be a goal and be managed. They are two separate areas, not managed to break even. They should have a goal, period, and be managed.
What is the
to
goal
cover-
in that sentence?
A goal, whatever the goal ends up
To
being
cover
for the
operating
property.
costs.
Goal to
Sales-
cover
No.
operating costs.
To break even at least.
I think
It doesn't say that.
Yes, it does.
It does.
These amenities should have a goal
It's a compound sentence.
and be managed to cover operating costs through
And
fees
be-
and sales revenues. Now tell me, they're two separate things. What's the goal?
And that's why I like.
What's the
and.
goal?
You're missing my
goal
point,
is
Dave.
to-
No, I will clearly define it.
Okay.
Have a goal, which
Okay,
means.
any goal.
Listen to me, please.
Yeah.
Whoever runs that profit center, that amenity, that, whatever you guys decide you want to call it, because I frankly don't care
That's
what
the
you
goal.
call it.
Okay.
Whoever runs that entity
Yes?
should have goals.
Okay.
So that's what the first part tells me.
Okay,
The-
my goal is to have an operating
Will you
deficit of
allow me
no
to-
more than $50,000 at the yacht club. Is that a reasonable goal?
I could finish if you let me finish my
Okay,
sentence.
go ahead.
If
I'm
you're
sorry.
going to load before you finish hearing me out, you
Okay.
don't hear me,
All right.
okay? The second part is to be managed to cover the operating cost.
Well, I know
Very
that's the second
simple.
part.
This isn't
It's
too
not
hard
very
for me.
simple. I mean, you still haven't answered my question as to what's the goal, or what is the
Okay,
goal.
I'll try one more time.
Try to give me an example of the
I'll
goal.
try one more time. Every entity that we have,
Yes?
I'm using entity because that's a name we haven't used yet, so I picked
Okay.
a new one. Okay, has a direct manager in charge of it, correct or incorrect? The golf, who runs golf? Harlan?
There's a manager, okay.
There's a manager.
I'll concede that without thinking about it.
Thank you. So that manager is directly in charge of what? Is it a profit center? Is it an amenity? Whatever it is. Shouldn't that manager be working with our general manager to establish goals?
Absolutely.
They're the goals I'm referring, whatever they are, because each area is
Okay.
different. So to specifically define each individual one here just doesn't make a lot of
Now,
sense.
may they have a goal that doesn't, I'm talking about a bottom line goal.
Try to get Phil.
May they have a goal that doesn't cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues? May they?
They should not, no, the goal
No,
should,
the
they
goal
should
is
not.
to
And by
cover
you
operating
putting it this way, it gives them that opportunity to do, I just think that's a wrong assumption.
These amenities should have a goal and be
And be
managed.
I accept that.
And be managed to cover operating costs.
Yes, I
But
accept that.
But you're saying that the goal
Is to cover operating.
is to cover operating
Bill, all
costs.
I-
And I don't
hold on.
accept that,
When
I
you,
object it.
you changed it to 2.
And that's a terrible goal
You
to have.
changed it to 2, which means the goal is to manage it to minimums. You said change that word too, unless I missed which word.
No,
you
that's what I
changed.
wanted to change, but now I'm going back to the and I'm saying that that's an incorrect sentence.
Yes,
And it's
but-
not what our
Isn't
goal
the
is.
said goal-
And it's not what our goal can be, even. I mean, we've actually, as a board,
What's not our goal? What'd you say? I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
to manage to break even, in so many words.
I know, but when you put 2, then you're saying the goal is to manage.
Okay. Can I ask, can I?
Hold on.
To be managed.
Right?
These two guys are going.
You're saying that goal is to manage it to cover cost, right?
Oh, no.
Change it.
No, absolutely not.
But that's what
Just
the
the
2
opposite.
does.
No, what the 2 does, you should have a goal.
All right, I tell you what, I'm not English,
I mean,
I'm
this
not
sentence
English
is-
major.
Hold on.
I just,
Pete,
Bob,
Pete and I
yeah,
have-
let me,
yeah,
Bob,
jump in. That's-
Bob, yeah, please. You know, you had said in response to Dave, you were talking about goals, but this is not about goals in this sentence. This is about a particular specific goal to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues. It's that particular goal
That's
that
what it
is in
is.
this sentence,
It's
okay? It's not goals in
got two
general.
verbs and one subject.
Exactly. So here's what I'm going to suggest. That it strikes me that we can have, these amenities should have a goal to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues. We've already dealt with the management part in a previous sentence, have we
Yeah,
not?
you're right. How about these men?
Then why don't we
should have a
just strike
goal?
the manage part of it and just have a goal?
And I love the English, but if you come around to budget time, you know, and that's our policy,
That's,
I'll object to
how
it.
about
Dave, that's why I like to the extent possible in
How about
Bill's
this?
earlier.
has
Yeah, and I do too. And may I say
To the extent
one quick thing?
possible, the goal should be,
And I don't mean for this
Forget
to
about the
drag off
management.
forever.
Hold on.
My personal opinion is an entire pile of paper, if we didn't have such an
I know,
investment
Marty, I
time
know.
to throw it in the trash.
Right.
If you read this and you go by it, are we gonna refund money next year on beach parking passes? We cover operating expenses at about $14 a pass,
Right, okay.
and we charge
You're
$160.
right.
But you know why we do that?
Because we
make a profit.
We make a profit.
the members make a profit.
Yes.
I got one more recommended change to this. Go ahead.
Okay. I would just throw this out, the last sentence. These amenities should be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues and have a goal to operate either at a break even or at a profit, however you want.
How about this? How about the amenities should have a goal to cover at a minimum operating costs through fees and sales revenue.
That's fine.
I want to open this up.
At a minimum.
You've got a member behind you that's coming at it.
I'm as soon as we get ours.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
These
vote for
amenities
that.
should have
That's
a
just
goal
wrong.
to cover at a minimum operating costs
You
and
can't.
fees and sales revenues. That opens the door to profits and everything else.
Yes, but what it does do, again, come around to budget time, and we would be totally irresponsible to set that as a budget goal. Absolutely. And we all agreed to that, by the way, that was, and we vowed not to do it. So how are we going to set a policy?
I'd like to delete the whole last sentence.
This is not a budget
If this is a
document.
compromise, we
No, I
want
know it's not. It's a
you got it up
policy.
there
It would be a
effectively.
conflict.
But the real issue,
Hey, let's John.
the issue here is whether or not, how do we begin to increase our revenues and break even? Is that not what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, everybody.
And the goal, you have stretch goals, okay? We've been at this goal since I've been around here.
What do you want to write?
Well, as I said, I happen to agree with Marty on this here. These amenities should be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues with a goal to operate at a profit.
Absolutely not.
I don't think that'll
accept
make us
that.
swing around, but that's, I think you're thinking.
As a matter of fact, if you
That's
want to
all right.
take,
You're all right.
if you take the
John,
word goal out of it, I'd be happy with it. Can anybody do that? Can anybody live with that?
What's that?
What?
Just take the word goal out of it. Just say what you just said, John, if you
Read
can
it again
remember.
without the word.
Without the word goal.
Yeah,
Just
just-
see what happens.
Okay, these amenities should be managed to cover operating costs through fees and sales revenues and to operate at a profit.
I disagree, but that's okay.
And/or
These amenities should-
to operate at a profit.
These amenities should be managed,
How about this?
cover, and
At a minimum.
Or at a minimum.
Let me-
That's okay
let me
too.
go
As
back
long
to
as
the
you take
earlier
goals out.
language.
All right,
I'm
hold
okay.
on a minute, okay.
The earlier language that we had before John offered, perhaps substitute language, said, these amenities shall have a goal to, at a minimum, manage to, or to manage, be managed to cover at a minimum operating cost through fees and sales revenues. And I think that's, I think you talk about perceptions.
Okay.
If you
That's what
start
we're talking about.
introducing the goal of having a profit, you're really talking about perception issues. All right? So at a minimum to cover as a goal,
No,
operating.
Take out the goal.
out, oh,
All right, what I'm gonna do, listen.
One last comment, and I'll shut up. okay?
Really?
All of our,
Give it to him.
not for the rest of the night, excuse me. All of our amenities combined, let's not forget, make a profit.
So what? If you
Doesn't.
got beach parking, they wouldn't, so, you know, I mean,
The other thing
No, it's
is,
marina too.
you know, I think I know what you mean by fees. However, other people may
Good
think
Lord.
about,
Let's go
you know,
on.
open up a new can of worms. Is the definition of fees here, are we talking about what we pay to join the club?
no,
Not the,
those are dues.
okay, so fees is my association fee.
Association dues. What the
No, he's
fees
talking about
are-
like a golf fee, tennis fee.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about.
Fee-based
Okay,
amenities
should
are
we call
fees that
association
you use
dues?
Okay,
Assessments, okay.
all right, so,
Fine,
We open it up to
okay, I'm gonna open it up to comments from the audience and see what they have to say. We'll start over here.
I'll try to work with Mario on this.
take out the word goal.
Why?
Why? Look what you're causing. You're causing all kinds of arguments over what are goals, which goals, what's the goal. Take out the word goal and word it, how did you have that written? John?
17 different.
Should be managed to cover operating costs.
Manage it operating, at a minimum operating costs through fees and sales revenues.
And to operate at a profit.
No.
No,
At a
no.
minimum, takes the cover
No.
of the
Oh,
profit.
okay.
She didn't say that.
Yeah, that's right. And I have no problem with
So
that.
we're all talking about, can I read that so we're all on the
Yeah,
same page?
yeah, please.
These amenities should be managed to cover at a minimum operating costs through fees and sales revenues.
I'll buy that.
I'll buy that.
There.
And a profit would be
Way
nice.
to go, Marty.
Thank you a lot.
All right, hang on.
I like that.
Can we get the rest of the public?
Yeah, we're gonna go around.
Please.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Nancy?
Let Rick talk, he really talk. You can still down and close it.
I can't wait to join you guys.
Well, you can.
Are you having second thoughts? Is that?
My question is, this document, what is it for? Because the goals of this amenities, the amenities are called amenities because they're for, not for profit, because they're for the community, people to use.
Amenities.
You make a profit, doing a good job at managing the business part of it. The amenities are not necessarily profit centers. They can be, Marty, they don't have to be. They're still called amenities.
Right.
So what's the document you're using? You're mixing two different things. You're calling them a business and trying to make a statement about the goals. The goals should be for the community to have a good time using them for the best measure.
Well, we define that.
But the
We agree.
but the sentence talks about the goals being the profit or the trying to get
Break
towards
even,
the profit.
break even.
Right, get towards the profit. That's not the goal. The goal is different. The statement should be something about the business. You know, the board should stress to the management that generating a profit will help the Ocean Pines community. But you can't say that you're gonna make a profit, you can't say you're gonna break even. You don't know that. You're putting too much pressure on yourselves to manage the OPA to say you're gonna make a profit. You have a goal of that, that's not the goal of the amenity.
Okay. Nancy?
I'd like to say, well, I've been around here since before there was ever a yacht club built. But we didn't used to lose as much money as we do now. And what we used to do in the 90s was the yacht club was closed down after, I don't know, September. And then we did everything at the country club. So we weren't trying to heat that big barn. And it was cozier at the country club, and everybody liked it. It was nice. The bar was over there. It was a happening place.
I remember.
Okay, you close up the yacht club. So we didn't lose so much money. I mean, I'm not saying we need to make a profit, but we should have goals of trying to break even.
We lost
We
11,000 this
should-
year. 11,000 was the loss for the yacht club for this year. 11,000.
Well, you didn't have all those salaries and everything. I mean, you shut the place down almost. I mean, of
What
course
you're
you're not
talking
going
about,
to lose money.
what you're talking about is.
I'm talking about conserving. And
We aren't addressing the fact that we are gonna open or close in various
I know that,
times.
but I'm just saying there's an opportunity. I mean, you can manage, that's a management thing.
It's a management
It's a
thing.
management issue. We're talking about managing here.
I agree.
There's certain things you can do to manage better, and that was a management issue. For all those years before, I don't know, the 80s and the 90s, I don't know why we started doing it different. They managed it differently. We went over to a building that was being used already. It was smaller, it didn't have huge ceilings, and we didn't lose so much money.
Well, we had losses all during that time on food and beverage. And when we went to outside management, we had losses that were triple what we
We
pay
need to offer
now.
people what they
And,
want to eat at the yacht club.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm saying
We're
is
getting off track
that
here.
we have to
sorry,
have
I'm
business
sorry.
plans now.
No, anybody else have anything to say? Joe?
This doesn't work because the definition of amenity is agreeable.
Now, 45 minutes?
No,
You haven't figured out yet how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, but you're trying to figure that out.
We're close.
You're getting into my Jesuit background
I
now.
don't care what you vote on, what language you put in there, we can debate it for the next 3 years, come up with something you all agree on, of course, you'll all be gone in 3 years. Whatever you agree on, it doesn't make any difference. If they're gonna go the way they do it, it's gonna go the way it's gone forever, it'll continue to go that way, and if you say they should make a profit, if they don't make a profit, they won't make a profit. If you say they break even, if they don't break even, it won't make any difference. You're wasting your time.
Well, I kind of agree in a way, but at the same time, if we're going to write these words down, let's get them as best we can. And that's important because we don't want to change.
As I said at the beginning of this entire process over a year ago, all of this is a waste of time.
Well, I happen to not agree with you,
I
Joe,
know
so
you
there you
don't,
go.
but
Okay.
I say it
Never
is
knew
because any 4 members of this board of directors or any future board of directors, at any time, for any reason, can do whatever they want to do, regardless of these.
That's true. You want to say something, Jeff? Okay. All right, now here's what I think we've got. These amenities should be managed to cover, at a minimum, operating costs through fees and sales revenues. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Is the rest of that paragraph acceptable?
Yes.
Everybody agrees to that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Have you got that?
I wouldn't need your copy.
All right. Are there any other changes to B8?
Weren't you following this, Jim? Come on.
Are there any other changes to B8? You're deleting this part right here, okay? Any other changes? Now, Marty, I know you had this question, and we can't approve this without another reading as long as we announce it by our policy, announce it in the agenda, make it available, and allow public comments to address it. All right? Okay.
So this,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bill, what did you say about?
I'm not sure I understand.
The second reading,
I didn't want
even though there's changes
It's
made.
effectively passage of it.
Yes, we can
Right.
pass it.
That's fine. We're done.
I would
We're
have done that. He's got
We're
something to
done.
say.
If you would look at page 2 of your draft, and what is in paragraph C near the bottom, the third line has a parenthetical without accompanying membership in the beach club pool. I have a staff recommendation that that be deleted. It really doesn't add anything to it. The general, it just discusses general public usage. General public usage general public can use the beach club pool but cannot get parking passes.
Okay.
And it was pointed
what do you
out.
want, how does it should read?
Just delete the parenthetical and put period after parking.
Okay.
Okay, period after parking.
Delete the parenthetical. and-
Yeah, okay.
Got it, 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 got it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Didn't I see a fee schedule just today?
I'm trying to remember. Amenities schedule where you could in fact buy a parking pass only.
Oh, yeah.
$55.
160.
160.
No. There's two ways to do it.
Yeah, buy another membership.
160 with pool membership, 55 with nothing else.
Yeah.
No, I think you got to reverse. You got to reverse that.
You got to combine it.
With nothing else, it's 160. With the membership, it's 55.
it doesn't work that way.
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, I know what you're saying. You're saying that you can buy just a beach club with no swimming pool.
Yes.
I don't think so. Can you?
Yes, you can.
You have to have some other,
If you go get one of those sheets.
You have to have another club membership.
another
to do it.
membership.
Golf course, golf or pool.
For
Some
example.
other membership.
Some of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That's
any
how
other
I
membership.
understood it.
Okay, so the changes have been made, Jim's got them. Do I have a motion to approve this as
Motion we
modified?
approve
today?
as
Do we
modified.
have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
God, it's
All right.
32 days up?
Let's go over.
I thought CPI was tough.
Let's go over the PAL.
Is that me?
Come on, Bob.
I had it out until we spent a week on that.
Oh, man.
You need a copy?
No, I have it, thanks. Why don't we just slow down and do the
I just wanna
resolutions
say-
review?
To these guys that are leaving the board, if you guys were any good, this PAL would be down to nothing.
That's right.
We gotta continue, finish what we started, Dave.
Who said that?
Of course, if you didn't have a PAL, we wouldn't know we were lost.
That's true.
I move we eliminate the PAL.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, resolutions review, it's not due until
Please, wait
10:10. You
till
want to give an update, Dave?
32.
No, it's almost done.
It's almost done.
Okay.
Yeah, I always
I've
go
just-
look at Jim. I think we've got what?
We had two left, right?
Not really.
Elections, we got
I don't, we
Elections.
have elections left to go, and that's a primary one that has to be done. There's another consideration with Tom about manuals. I want to clarify, though, several of the remaining resolutions to be reviewed do involve amenity facilities. And the committee is going to hold off and see where things are going before we start rewriting or canceling resolutions. We think it's appropriate to see where things are going.
Oh, something up with our facilities or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Election procedures,
That'll have to
it's the one,
be-
yeah, that's done till after the election. Pete, compensation benefits,
The committee needs to have further meeting and draft a report.
okay, golf, outsourcing and F&B. Pete, they're yours right now.
You
Yeah,
skipped
the-
over comprehensive plan, and it was in red, too.
I was coming back to it.
Oh, okay.
I was getting Pete.
Did you want me to
I'm
comment on
sorry.
that?
Yeah, go ahead, Pete, golf, and I was getting your three. I was coming back to
Okay.
Dave's.
Yeah, the committee's been formed, 5 people, including myself. We've had one meeting, two meetings. And Bill Rako joined us for the last meeting. We have further meetings scheduled next week, so we're about the business of trying to get back, formulate a plan, to come back to the board, to present that plan, and then proceed. We are going to be interviewing various firms next week.
Are these meetings on the web or announced? Are these not open?
Well, as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, when we finalized it, no, it hadn't been on the web.
Okay, but that meeting.
No, we are talking about contractual matters here, and.
It still has to be called into a meeting and closed.
I'll
I hate to bore you guys with the law.
I'll take direction from the president, but we have a 5-member task force that is charged with entering into contractual discussions with various firms, and that's what we intend to do and have scheduled for next week.
And those meetings are open and then closed under 11B, correct?
I don't know that that's true of a task
they're
force.
announced?
Well,
Minutes are published.
if we went to legal and asked an opinion, depending on how it's drafted, you'd probably say that any group, committee, task force, body, or whatever of the association must operate under those rules. It's probably what he would tell us.
But we haven't asked him.
We haven't asked him.
Why don't we ask him?
Why do you want to give the permit?
I think we've already asked him. What do
I mean, here's the, we are meeting with specific firms to talk about specific contractual arrangements, okay? Now, if you're telling me I need to post that on the web.
Let me look into that, and I'll give you further written guidance.
Yeah, I hope
Okay?
your phrasing is just incorrect on that, Pete, because I would really hate to think that you were talking to specific firms about specific contractual relationships.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, 'cause
I'll give
that-
you written guidance on that, and I'll take whatever it is, okay?
Thank you.
And that's going to, Pete, I'm assuming that's covering F&B
Yeah,
outsourcing study.
the committee
as well?
is addressing both. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Financial management manuals, not due until December, but any update on that? Isn't that you, Pete?
Budget.
and
Bill
finance.
has worked very hard, and B&F will have to help out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not due until...
Hopefully, when you're still on the board in December, you can have a thing on that. Those manuals really, I've gone as far as I can go. I've turned them over.
He's done a lot of work.
Really now, it's the details of cash handling and things like that, internal controls that need to be looked at, and those are management functions.
Okay.
Maybe we'll assign that to Jeff Never to help us monitor that program.
That'll teach you to get on
All right, moving to 4, Dave, comprehensive
Okay, it's up to me now? I'm still working on it.
I gave you.
I can't help it.
I gave you a pass, and you had to take it. All right.
All right, let's move on.
10-year we talked about.
Clear.
Any of these, Tom? I think we covered all those.
I'm not trying to
I think we did swim racket.
Yep.
Deck is pretty much.
Bridges we covered. Does anybody want me to comment on the fire department or in any way?
No.
Are we okay? Customer service plans underway. Any update on that, Tom? I know you're working on it. I mean, I know it's
Actually,
underway.
what we're in the process of doing now is we've identified several different secret shoppers. We are collecting common cards from areas like the yacht club and other areas as well. And we're starting to collect some data about for feedback.
Okay. Pinehurst we talked about. IRS. Guys, unless you see anything, I think we've covered.
Okay, I got a couple things I need to be added on there. Add the park drainage issue that just came up today. And Tom, we need to talk about how they're going to address that. Let's put it on the general manager, the general manager thing, but I'll talk to you about what I think you need to do.
Okay.
I know a little bit about stormwater management. The Gillis proposal. I had proposed we put that on the agenda. For some reason, it got dropped off. But it needs to be put on there because either we're going to tell him thank you and no thank you, and we're not going to do anything until whenever, or we need to say, the board needs to sit down and say, okay, Mr. Gillis, we're going to agree with what you're proposing or not.
Is that an open discussion or is that a closed discussion?
I think.
I mean, I'm thinking it might be closed.
I think, quite frankly, I don't see any reason why it should be closed. Do you?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're going to talk about. If it's
We're going to talk about. It's not on the agenda.
Pretend it's on the agenda. What would you do with it? Make a motion to go forward with it, or discuss it, or are we going to babble about it for a half
have a
hour?
discussion on it, and I'd list all the pros and cons and all these kind of things. There was something posted on the forum by a former director, which I thought was really well written and worthy of thought. Like, why are we doing it there when we know it's not a great location? Why aren't we doing it where the old Groff building was? Isn't that a great place for a medical facility for all of us to drive to and center, you know? But it's not going to happen there. So, I mean, it's nice to talk about it, but it's not going to happen there.
We're not building a medical.
We're not building it. He's going to build it anyway.
Yeah.
So we ought to say, if he's going to build it
We ought to
anyway.
tell him where to build it.
Huh? He bought a piece of property that, quite frankly, is a very poor piece of property, in my opinion. It's only my opinion. But if he's going to build it anyway, should we take advantage of that? We need to sit down and talk about all that.
Yeah, I don't know what he wants, what the next step is.
The next step is either do nothing, he's going to build it anyway, or we can take advantage of that or whatever.
send out a referendum.
Or we could just
It
not
is-
even, talk- we
it is-
not even, we just forget about it, you know?
He has it in the multiple listing service now, under leases, looking to build a 10,000 square foot piece
Yeah.
of property where he wants to lease the facility.
Oh, he's told us exactly
He's
what
told
to
us
do.
exactly that. What he came into us
That's what
for,
he's gonna do.
as I understood, was access.
Yeah.
Was strictly access from
He
where
wants
he's
us
at.
to incorporate it into his property, he wants to pay commercial rates.
He wants us to annex it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, and
That's what I said,
and,
incorporates.
And that's all I guess I'm looking for is a list of the specific things that we need to do and to, decide exactly what we need to do.
That's why I say we need to do that. You want to do it during this board? I'd be more than happy to work on it and call a special meeting of the board to do that.
I don't think you should.
Marty, I know Marty's time is busy sailing, but,
No, Marty wants to meet.
I don't, Dave, I don't think it has to be done in that hurry, but it needs to be put on the list or it's going to be forgotten. In 6 months from now, you're
I
going to
don't
say,
think
gee,
he'll let us forget it.
I'd already forgot it.
Yeah, but didn't, he came in and gave us, he deserves, if we do nothing, just say we're going to do nothing. I think we owe him at
Absolutely.
least.
Well, there are 3 or 4 things that he wants from us.
Yeah, we owe
He's also
comment.
promised us that if we never say another word, he's going to do what he wants to do anyway.
Right.
He just won't have the same access that he'd like to have.
Nor will we get the benefit of what he has indicated he's willing to
that's
give
part of
us,
it.
which
That's
is
part
rather
of it.
substantial.
Out of respect, we owe him at least whatever.
However, if we are in fact going to discuss it, it should be an open session because it does impact upon individuals' homes in and around that area.
It's not contract negotiations.
No, it's
Right.
not,
It doesn't hurt anything.
it doesn't hurt anything to bring them in, because there is a set of very concerned citizens in that area. About having the trees cut down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course, we're going to, if we do what he wants to do with the five-lane bridge, we're going to tear that ugly old bridge down.
Horrors.
But
I didn't know you were here, Nancy.
But he is
And
going to
go
put
bigger
I understand he's going to put a beautiful blue roof on it.
Double blue.
Okay,
But anyway, I have
so,
no rush.
I'm thinking we need to at least put a date to do something. Just waiting
That's
till
why I brought it
next
up,
month, the
folks.
next month
That's
is
why I
just
brought it up.
crazy.
Do it in September, I'll give you that.
When do you guys want to talk about it?
you want to do it this board?
When?
During this board year? before-
Why don't we put it off? We got
I
an
think
awful
we
lot
should
of things
put it
on our plate between
Put it
now
off
and then.
until when, though?
Till the next board is seated.
Well, the next board is until September.
That's fine.
You can call a special
I
meeting.
mean, believe it or not,
August, I thought.
we're going to do it in the annual meeting. We'll have
No, no.
we'll have an organizational meeting in August.
No
and that'll
regular
be that.
meeting? No regular
No.
meeting? I thought we had an organization, not a regular meeting last
I
August.
just wanted to bring it up, to put her on this list so we know we got to do
Well,
something.
I have no objection to trying to push it up and trying to do it sooner with this board. I mean, you and Marty have gotten all the, I mean,
You're part of it.
you've been involved in it, part of it, and you're
One meeting.
Yeah, but I think it has to
We'll be all
be,
right.
It's one meeting. yeah.
I think it has to be sufficiently announced.
We're trying to define the problem as it relates to us, list all the factors that affect us, come up with what we think are some good alternatives, and evaluate those and make a decision.
Yeah, and the decision would be to take it to referendum. at
Yeah, it's a
some point.
referendum matter, right, yeah.
My challenge, my concern with that is, many of our special meetings are only given 3 or 4 days notification. And the people who would like to in fact attend this may in fact not even know about it, because they're not gonna get it. I think we don't need to push this noodle that quick. Yes, he came in, but he wasn't concerned. He still has a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to
There's no
do.
sense of
Before he
urgency.
gets it, there's not a
There's no sense of
sense,
urgency.
he even, if I remember right, said there was not a sense of urgency at this point in time. Yes, we owe him an answer. The fact that we don't forget about it, we don't have to give him an answer today.
I agree with you. I think you should
Take our
say-
time.
have a goal to get it done by the 30th of October. I think it'd be fine.
I do.
And there's plenty of time for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Question.
Suspension of the rules? We'll make this, normally you can't do that, so the rules are the thing, but I can make an exception to the rules without objection to the board, and allow you to talk.
Thank you. My understanding is Mr. Gentleman who's trying to, Gillis, doesn't have proper zoning at this time.
Gillis has the proper
Yes,
zoning.
he does.
Mr. Burbidge doesn't.
Mr. Gillis also has ADUs. And it's EDUs from the county?
Huh?
EDUs.
EDUs should probably not be a problem.
has the development people at Ocean Pines asked for your recommendations on whether he can get the EDUs?
Well,
Yeah.
We don't have any.
there are
This is-
sufficient capacity EDUs to support that facility without a problem. The capacity is not a
Does he
problem.
have them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He does not have them. The county controls the EDUs, not us.
Right, right,
They'll listen to what we recommend, but they own the EDUs.
Yeah.
right.
Okay? Right. Those are all things to consider in this process. Okay, back to the regular rules, okay? Anything else on this? All right, good. We're gonna move on now to a discussion of the trailer storage issue as recommended by Bob Thompson.
All right, so it's still my court. All right. Just a quick note, and I'm actually pleased to see this month we didn't have to take action on another resident, another member, whatever somebody wants to call them, with a trailer parked in their, in their driveway. And thinking about this, and just it sets with me heavy every month when we have to make decisions to go after people that are working the trade because of a trailer that's in their driveway. Now, understand, I know I've supported the DRs, covenants, restrictions, I've got all that. As a board member, I will continue to do that. But my question would be, I personally know several people that have gone back to the trades. In other words, businesses are tough. They're going back to working their tools. They've pulled the tools out of the garages. Those small trailers are things that they use to ply their trade, to pay their bills, to pay their assessments. I almost wonder, instead of just being aggressively, going after people that are breaking the rules, maybe we could take a look at it from a different angle and say, what could we do to maybe support those members of our community? And by support them, I would suggest we consider looking at an area within the association. And again, I don't have the exact area lined up yet because I know it impacts people differently. But a small storage area where we could put a fence up where someone could use a swipe card and pay a small fee to park their trailer. If it were, I don't know how many people it would impact, but we certainly look at doing something like that instead of waiting month to month to see whose name's coming up next on the list that we're going to have to go after. I just think these economic times are tough. And like I said, guys and gals are going back to the trades. I just don't want Ocean Pines to be a community where we say, hey, you're swinging your hammer now, but you can't use your tools because you can't store your vehicle. And I understand why, but I just think we ought to take some, try to exercise some proactiveness as opposed to reactiveness to the problem. And then maybe, fence off an area with a gated area, something small to start with. If it works well, it may be something that we can expand to boat storage. I know that folks have small lots. We've got the big boats. We put a boat, open up the boat folks like. Just something I'm throwing out there.
I don't know whether I agree with it or not, but it's something you said that I'm just going to mention because it'll make some people happy. It makes me want to cry. Jimmy Schiffler moved out of his house and out of the community because we ran him out over his work truck. He can't live without his work truck. He had to move out of the community. And, that's just wrong.
See, I don't know him, but I'm sure...
Well, you voted to get rid of him.
Well, no, Marty, not voted to get rid of him, voted to follow the rules, which I will continue to do. All I'm saying is maybe we ought to, instead of just enforcing rules, take a little more proactive stance, see what we can do to support in a different way.
Have you looked at any really options?
I have. I've actually started putting some information together on chain link fencing and the cost associated with that, how much space we would need. I just thought I'd bring it up at the board level now, just as a discussion point.
This wouldn't be unique as an association, something that associations do.
No, it would not be unique, but it'd be nice to offer from our standpoint, something a little more proactive.
If it really solved the problem,
It
or
would.
helped.
The one challenge is location. And you gotta ensure that the location, we got numerous complaints just from people putting in their boats at the White Horse Park. So if we have a location, yes, ma'am. We have to find a location that is pretty much separated from the rest of the community. And the only place that I've really noticed for that, Bob, and I've looked also, would be the Public Works area. That is the one area where we have the open land that there are no houses around.
Well, and before I step too deep in this and raise too many eyebrows, okay, because I'm looking at, what I'd like to do is bring kind of pros and cons to both, but there are some other solutions that may be available. We have developers knocking on both sides of our community saying, hey, we want to build or develop these sections. Maybe they'd be willing to give us an acre or two in consideration that we could carve off that isn't backed up to someone's house right now. As an alternative, as we're looking at some of these things, Mr. Gillis's property, he's got land it's going to be locked back there, and he mentioned to us he didn't know, he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it, but there's no houses that would see it. Just those type of things I think we ought to be considering as we're moving forward. Now, I don't know if that's the right answer, but we've got Mr. Steen and Burbage's property on the south end. Maybe these are times, we're thinking about it. These are times we approach them and go, hey guys, do you have property? The other alternative, I'm just throwing them out there now. Understand, I'm not making a recommendation, but the other things we have, I think it's 16 lots, small lots within the community that could we sell one of those lots to a developer or a person to use that money to offset buying an acre or two off of, right outside of Ocean Pines? I mean, we have some options right now that I think we ought to explore, and it'd be a little more proactive than waiting to see who we're going to go to court with next. So if it's all right with everybody, I'd like to continue to explore that option, but I didn't want to do it without bringing it to the board, because I just don't do that. A good idea, a bad idea, something to continue exploring.
I think it's certainly worth exploring. If there's a feasible solution, it could help a lot of people, perhaps.
I mean, that's my thoughts. Marty?
Go for it.
See what you can find out.
All right, everybody okay with that?
I support
Pete, any
it. I
thoughts?
support it. Sure.
Okay, I didn't want to start too far down that path without at least letting you guys know. What's that?
Your report every month, or?
I hope they have it done by next month, at least solutions offered.
All right.
Just as a proactive approach.
All right, the next thing is, just want to remind the election process, the ballots are supposed to be mailed on the 16th, which is Friday. And they're due back on the 12th, and the annual meeting and the announcement is on the 14th of August.
I made a comment last month on it. Diane McGraw and her team, I'm the liaison on it, just fantastic with the amount of energy, effort, and seriousness they put into this. Seeing it from the other side, the inside of all the work they do, they're just outstanding at what they do.
You don't know how much work some volunteers do.
Yeah,
and I tell you, that election process takes a lot of attention.
A lot of attention.
Curiosity question. When we had what do you call it, the committee that went out and found candidates?
It's a search committee.
Search committee. Now they're done.
They're done.
Their job's
Do
finished.
we do anything? Do we send them a thank you, a letter?
Just like any other committee that...
We just ignore them?
Everybody once a year.
No,
We have a once a year
don't
thing.
say that. We don't ignore them. We'll invite them to our...
The volunteers.
Okay.
There are hundreds and hundreds.
But they volunteer probably less than most of the volunteers that are in this...
I'm just asking a question. That's all. I mean,
Okay, there are no appointments, although there is one that was put in your package. It's for somebody from the Budget and Finance Committee, I think, but that's not to be voted on now because the chairperson nor the liaison had a chance to talk to it. Are there any other public comments, ma'am?
I'd like to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am. I got to who you are. No one knows who you are, and your address is required.
Nancy Weber, 733 East Road.
Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm sorry.
There is precedent for trailer storage in Ocean Pines. Years ago, Ocean Pines gave us a chain link enclosure. We don't know whether it was a key or what we had, but anyway, to keep our camping trailers in. So when we weren't here, this is after we moved out of this park, because we were here for a long time, and then we moved across Beauchamp Road. And they gave us a nice enclosed place to keep our trailers when we weren't actually here camping. And so it's been done before. It was free, actually, too.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And I think we should do
It's
that.
free.
All right.
It was free. It was free. An amenity.
Imagine that.
An amenity. Define that amenity.
Anything else? We should have charged for it at profit, right?
Well, we should have made a profit on it.
Anything? Are there any goals?
There were no goals.
Any-
Well, yeah,
And
to keep
I'm
the,
not willing
to keep,
to
well,
sell my
it was
soul.
Anything else? Anything else? It's good to see you here. Good to see you again. Joe, you had something?
Yeah, thank you.
Joe Reynolds? Joe Reynolds?
Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown Road.
Right.
we have property out on 589 that's already zoned commercial.
We do.
Because if you're gonna start parking trailers, I'm not so sure what you might get into a zoning issue. That zoning is commercial, and we may wanna sell it one day, but when that land was bought, in fact, I wrote the document that was sent out with the referendum to buy that land at the time the board of directors did that. It was approved, it was bought, and one of the reasons for buying it was something the community should use. Now, I'm not saying I'm in favor of your idea, but that property it's on the highway, it's not near home, it's not something people are gonna look at every day from their home, so that's a piece of property. That would hold a lot of places. A lot of hold. But then, once you do this, you got, there's always unintended consequences. Do you get in a situation like the marina where it's first come, first served? If you get it, do you keep it forever?
Would you put your trailer that's in your driveway now over in it?
That's right, I'll put my trailer in my driveway over there. I gotta say it again, I said it at the last meeting, I believe, and it's just something that I think is so indicative of the way we operate around here, and it's not to the best advantage of the membership, this bridge business. The immediate work on that bridge is about $28,000 on 2 bridges. We put in the budget 2 years ago, $800,000 based upon a recommendation of a guy who was supposedly an independent engineer or whatever. And we probably still working with this guy. What confidence do we have that this man's not looking just to feather his own work, because he was going to design the bridge for us after he told us it was going to cost $800,000 and it had to be replaced? I mean, how we operate is just beyond my imagination. But at any rate, I'm also wondering, and again, don't get into me about the accounting stuff, but I'm with Marty. I'm saying this in a humorous way. I have to wonder what happened to the $800,000 that was in the budget. Don't answer that question, please. Anyway, the money was in there. It was in the budget, but we didn't do the bridges. The issue of the board holding private meetings. Certainly the board has an absolute right and a need to hold private meetings. But I don't think the board of directors, as a matter of policy, should try to bypass it. I think you should embrace it. And by embracing it, you avoid any perception that you're trying to hide things from the membership, and you harm yourself in no way whatsoever. And by embracing it, all I'm saying is that if you're going to have a private meeting, you announce it and you give the membership some time to notice you're going to have the meeting, and you open it in public, and you tell people what the topic of the particular meeting is. And if they have some public comments, they make their public comments, you say thank you, you close the meeting, you go do your private business. That's very simple to do. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. And it makes you look better. I'll give you a good example. We've gotten into policy, OPA as an organization, in the last year or two. I get them as a member of the press, but the general membership doesn't get them. A little notice will come out, say, the board of directors has scheduled a private meeting to discuss legal matters and personnel issues in 2 days at 8 o'clock, period. Period. Now, the membership doesn't even know about the meeting. If a newspaper wanted to tell people it was going to be a private meeting, they probably wouldn't have time to publish it. And an interesting thing happened. I got one of those, and then a board member, this last time around, a board member, I don't know who it was, questioned, amongst yourselves, questioned whether or not one of the topics you wanted to discuss was a legitimate topic for private discussion. As a result, I got a note from OPA saying that it would open in public to discuss whether or not this particular issue, and they said what the issue was. Now, up until then, you didn't even know what the issue was. The next day, I got an email from OPA giving me the agenda saying what the public item was to be discussed was, and what the 2 or 3 other private topics were to be. Now, prior to that, and you know what? It made no difference what they were. So you're going to discuss whatever it was. Tell people what you're discussing. They don't expect you to discuss private contractual matters or in public. But if you're going to discuss making a deal with the guy up here with the medical center, say we're having a meeting, we're going to discuss this contract. Don't just say we're going to discuss legal issues. I mean, embrace the law, think of the membership, and even if none of them ever show up, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. You're making yourselves look good. And it's easy to do. It's not a problem.
It's not easy to make us look good, you know that.
What's that?
It's not easy to make us look good, you know that.
Well, I'm as best I can. But at any rate, and finally, I'm going to thank Bill Rako for, I'd like to thank all the board members for their service, especially Marty, who's going out, and Dave Stevens, he may or may not be going, but that remains to be seen. Tom, Bob will be around for a while, but I think what Bill Rako, even though he and I disagree on some issues, we agree philosophically, I think, on a lot of issues. And we have strong disagreements on particular issues. But we do it in a pretty good way, I think. But regardless of our disagreements, I'm going to thank him for what I think is some of the strongest leadership and best leadership that this board has seen in a long time. Now, we should be around a lot longer, Bill, but I know you're not, but I want to thank you for what you've done.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? I made a mistake. I didn't add, we didn't discuss the topic you wanted to do. I have a different agenda. I'm sorry, but I remember it.
I didn't interrupt the public comments, but I did want to return to that.
Well, yeah, okay, so the issue we're going to talk about is the article in the paper.
Yes, and some of you may not even be aware of it, but in my driveway this morning was the Courier's weekly edition, and it has a letter to the editor here from Mr. Len Nemick from Ocean Pines. He's actually a member of the Point community. He has a condo there. And there's some who advise me, Pete, leave this alone, be silent, don't speak to this. But I don't think I should do that. I think as a matter of fairness, and I'll say, I'm not going to take very long. I am going to have a proposed course of action, though, that I'm going to put forward to the board. But I think as a matter of fairness, I can't let this occurring on the same day that there's a board meeting go unaddressed. And particularly since it is also critical of not only myself, but Tom Terry, a candidate for the board. And specifically, gentlemen and audience, the letter and the headline is very, very large. And it reads, "Conflict on the Ocean Pines board, Gomsack should resign." That's what it says. And obviously, I don't think there's any basis for that at all. I will be responding in an appropriate course. I believe it's deceptive. I dare say I think it may be malicious. There's no basis, in my opinion, for any conflict here. Now, the gentleman may have information that I don't have in my possession. I don't know what his allegations are, other than a very general one having to do with a building in our particular community that was part of our developer's plan some 10 years ago. David Meinhardt in the Point community. The clubhouse is what we're talking about here. And efforts on the part of various members of our community to help correct a situation that is continuing to adversely affect our entire community, and I must say Ocean Pines as well. That building is deteriorating. It hasn't been touched in 3 years, basically. There's still construction materials there, weeds, safety issues, kids breaking in, a whole host of issues, and some efforts on the part of the community to try and address a problem within our community and within Ocean Pines. The letter to the editor, I know that it went to at least 3 community newspapers because I got calls, courtesy calls yesterday from 2 of those community newspapers. I did not hear from the Courier. I don't know whether, but I presume there's another community newspaper that probably received it, but I haven't heard from them. That's the progress. But basically, the board is implicated here as well. And I'll just read you one sentence out of this, and then I'll quickly get to the end.
Implicated what? That's what I'm not sure about.
of supporting a conflict of interest because of an allegation that there's some activities going on that are in competition with Ocean Pines, Yacht Club, etc. David Meinhardt's proposed private facility there.
Familiar with it.
Yeah, right. Most people are. And so, anyway.
What's his suggestion?
Well, the suggestion is that Gomsack resign and Terry withdraw from the election.
For what reason?
Because Mr. Gomsack, Mr. Terry, and the board, by their silence on this matter, apparently see no conflict in working at cross purposes with community-funded amenities. It has to do, and I don't want to debate it tonight, what I suggest we do, because this gentleman, I think, deserves an opportunity, and frankly, Terry and Gomsack deserve an opportunity, as does the board, to hear him out and have him speak in any manner he wishes. So I myself don't believe there's any basis whatsoever for what is in here. I think it's a bogus issue. I'm fully prepared to listen to him and to defend myself. I think it's grossly unfair to Tom Terry, who's a candidate. Bill, we've talked several times tonight about perceptions, and we've said it oftentimes. The perceptions become reality. And I must say we're in a political environment. Gomsack's not going to resign from the board. There's no basis for it. But I'm concerned about Tom Terry being adversely impacted by such a blatant thing as this. I called our president this morning to see if he was aware of it. He became aware of it, he told me, playing tennis this morning when some women came up to him and said, hey, what's this all about? On the other hand, my sister-in-law heard about it from a bunch of people she plays bridge with, talking about, hey, why is Pete, all this stuff. So to ignore it, I don't think is fair or proper. It's been put in play by this letter. There's an appropriate response to it. I think fairness, and in Tom Terry's particular case, I think a timely, now, people say, Pete, you're making a big issue of this, you just keep quiet, pass it. But you know what? The election could be impacted by people's perception here until they know the facts. And so that's all I'm asking, is that we have an opportunity for this gentleman to come forward and share and respond accordingly.
Has he asked to come forward?
Do you think he will?
No, but I'm asking, here's what I'm suggesting, gentlemen. You can say, no, Pete, that's a bad idea. I'm simply suggesting, we've got a number of meetings coming up here, special meetings, to invite him to appear, because he clearly believes that there's a conflict and I should resign and Tom should withdraw. And the board, by their silence, is acquiescing in this conduct. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but it's
Well,
me.
I don't blame you for being upset, but on the other hand, if the board responded to everything in the press, which turned out to be untrue about either a member or the board collectively, we could be spending a whole lot more time on.
I know. I'm not concerned for myself,
I do feel for, and I do feel for Tom Terry, but I guess one of the possible actions would be for either you or Tom to write a letter to the board and address it, and we can put it in the minutes of a meeting. Of course,
Well, immediately I need to put, and others need to put, however they wish to respond to this, and I know some people are already very upset about this and intending to respond to the newspaper publication. I do know that two of the other publications with whom I spoke they've done not only interviews, and they're going to put a pretty substantial article, at least in one publication here this Friday, with photographs and everything. So, I'm simply saying that if you all would approve of inviting him in to address it, then I'd be very happy with that. If you say no, I accept that too.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Again, it's a matter of
Any members
responding to
invited to come
allegations and things like that, that just, hey, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, and Pete, I understand why.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say, I understand the concern and fairness issue, because I always try to levy that, but that's one person's opinion. We've got great community. The truth will end up coming out, and I think sooner than later. And
It's got to be sooner because Tom's election is at stake. Yeah,
I understand that, but I don't think it's the board. Everyone's allowed to their opinion, and whether that was factual or not, you can write a rebuttal or whatever you need to do, but this isn't a board issue. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's just not. If we can respond, if you go to the forum any day, if you go to any letters to the editor, someone's on the other side of most of them. I just don't think it's appropriate for a board response.
And although I'm
going to respect whatever you all.
No, I understand.
I just put two and two together. I've already responded to this, actually, because there was something on the forum from a member about, but I didn't know it was about this. It was insinuating that there was a deal going on for the the Meinhardt building is how I read it. And I answered and said, I know of no such talk.
Well,
by
that's the
people."
implication here, that Terry
That-
and
well,
I are in
that's
business to, yeah.
And somebody said that on the forum today. I don't remember who it was. And I did, I stood up for you.
Thank you.
It's not hard to believe it.
That's according to your language on the other end.
Oh, man.
This is broken.
Gotta love
In the 11th hour, he's starting to
Yeah, they're
mellow
finally
out.
starting to work, yeah.
Gentlemen, what I hear you saying is that not everyone has spoken, I understand it, and everyone need not speak. What you're saying is, Pete, we hear you, we understand why you might be upset, and I am particularly concerned about Tom Terry, okay?
Sure.
And I am particularly concerned about not even getting a call to get the other side of it. You know, it's a letter to the editor, however, the headline is just, never mind. So I accept that it's not a board. Again, my suggestion was simply, if he's making allegations that there's a conflict of interest that you all are allowing to exist, in my opinion, you need not worry about it. There is no conflict of interest
But they would
whatsoever.
have, this member would have a right to come like all these
Yeah.
fine folks did. And
But if we're allowing it
open,
to exist,
so-
wouldn't that imply that we even knew there was something to
Yes,
begin with?
I do-
I read the
exactly.
paper this morning.
Yeah.
That's how I
Not to
found
be
out.
mean, but I
The board, by their
have-
silence on this matter, apparently sees a
Yeah,
conflict.
I read that. I
I
read
wouldn't
that's-
argue.
And if I,
Gentlemen, I accept it.
if I was
I accept
If I was Mr.
I-
Terry, I would be thinking about any publicity is good publicity.
That's
How many
right.
newspapers wrote what a
Hey,
wonderful guy I was?
Did they spell his name right?
You spelled mine wrong, by the way.
There you go.
You're not
Now
running.
I'd
This
be
publication has a history of that.
Okay. Any other comment about this?
Bill, I just want to say thank you for listening to me. I did not think it was right to come into this meeting tonight in light of this, in light of people talking about it, and not say a word. So I respect the opportunity to address it. I respect the decision not to do anything as a board. There will be, and I hope for Tom Terry's benefit, appropriate responses to this. Okay?
All right, any comments from the press?
Just one quick comment. I defended you as well.
Thank you.
What bothered me about that letter was that if the letter writer had presented factually what was going on and people could understand what he was talking about, it would have been not bad at all. I mean, he can offer his opinion, okay?
Right.
But what really bothered me was that the letter writer, somebody doesn't know anything about anything that's going on, they read that letter, they're left with the impression that you and Terry are involved personally in some business that's coming in here to compete with OPA.
Right. That's exactly the
It's not the
impression.
case at all.
Right.
So the letter itself, forget the headline and everything else. I mean, I know you don't want to, but forgetting the head, the letter itself is not,
Oh, I know.
and
So people are left with an impression. Thank you, Joe. And
Okay. Any other comments from the press? All right, then we're going to adjourn the open portion of the meeting and go into closed session to talk about the things we talked about.
Closed session.